Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our City Council meeting for Tuesday, May 9th. Our very first order of business, I would ask our Acting City Clerk, Mrs. Corbett, to handle.
Thank you very much. Through the chair, the first order of business is to pass a bylaw appointing Councillor Pietrangelo as acting mayor for tonight's meeting. I'll take that. Okay. Councillor Thompson, and moved by Councillor Strange.
All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, it's traditional for us to sing O Canada to start, and I see that we have a number of youngsters here with us, which is wonderful. I'm just going to read a little bit about them, and then we can all stand and sing O Canada. So the Our Lady of Mount Carmel Catholic School Choir has been an active part of the school for many years. This year, the choir is made up of approximately 35 students from grades 4 to 8. It's directed by Mr. Smith and Mrs. Dominski. In the past, the choir has participated in school musicals, school and sacramental masses, the Kiwanis Festival, the Port Colborne Festival for the Arts, Christmas Choir Fest at Fairview Mall, and various other community events. In 2019, the Our Lady of Mount Carmel Catholic School Choir won the NCDSB O Canada competition, and that winning version of O Canada is played in Catholic elementary schools each morning across Niagara. The children love sharing the joy of music with others and look forward to many more opportunities to promote the arts within the school and their community. So welcome to everyone. I now invite everyone that's here tonight to stand, and we'll stand for O Canada. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, Mrs. Dominski. That was wonderful. It's not every day that you get that many people that are able to sing in unison. I know we try to be in unison here on City Council, but it doesn't always work as well.
Most young people in the council ever.
I know, it's fabulous. It's fabulous. Thank you. You're all willing to, or you're all able, if you can, to stay for the meeting. But you don't have to. We won't be offended if you do. Okay?
Thank you.
Next, we have our land acknowledgement and traditional Indigenous meeting opening. We acknowledge and thank the Indigenous peoples who were stewards of this land for a millennia before us. I'd like to invite Brian Kahn, who is a local artist of Métis descent and an advocate in the Indigenous community, to share his testimony. If everyone could look at the screen.
Tansi, Brian Kahn, Natishikashan, Niagara Falls, Newicken, Netaniska, Wakamakana, Gilene Wak, Mushkage Wak, Métis. So hello and greetings to all. My name is Brian Kahn. I live in Niagara Falls, but my ancestors, they come from the north, from the far north. They are the Moose Cree, and I am Métis. So I'm going to start the meeting today with what is known as a traditional opening. And we don't know what your day was like as everyone gathers here in the meeting. Somebody may have had a fight with a spouse member, or someone may have cut them off as they were driving to the meeting. So if we all come together in a good way and a good mind, and think of all the great gifts that have been given to us by the Creator. So with that, I call to Kisimanto, the Great Spirit, the Creator. And we are thankful to Him for all of the gifts that He has given to us. And the greatest of those gifts is the gift of Mother Earth. And through her, we are given additional gifts, plants and medicines that grow from the ground. And we are grateful to each and every one of them, for they nourish us and they heal us as we continue through our journey. We are grateful to the Tree Nation, because the Tree Nation, trees stand tall and proud, and they provide us with the materials to make our homes. Traditionally, they provided the materials to build our fires for staying warm and for our ceremonies. The trees and the forests and the lands are also a place for all the two-legged, the four-legged, the swimmers, the crawlers, the flyers, and we are grateful to each and every one of them. And when I think of all of those gifts that the Creator has given to us for us to use, we must be reminded that as we come across an item that we want to harvest, that we don't take the very first one that we see, whether it's a plant or an animal. We don't even take the second one that we see. It's not until we find the third that we realize that there is enough for those who follow behind us, whether it's those who followed the next day or those who followed for generations to come. And those are the teachings of my ancestors. We are grateful for the four winds that blow and the four directions that surround us. With that brings the change of season and new opportunities. At this time, it is a time of harvesting of those plants. And with that, we take one of the sacred medicines, tobacco, and we lay it on the ground as a gift to Mother Earth for giving us that opportunity to grow and nourish that plant or that medicine, which ultimately comes back to us. So we're grateful for that harvest that we have. Living in Niagara, we're surrounded by water, and the water is so important. It makes up a good part of our body, and it also provides us with refreshment throughout the day. But more importantly, it is through water that we have our very first homes. Before we were born, we lived within water, within our mothers. So we're grateful to that water. I look to the sky and I see Brother Sun. He's out there and he provides us with light and warmth. Whether he's shining bright or whether hidden behind the clouds, he's there, and we know he's there, and we are grateful to him. At the night skies, Grandmother Moon, she shines high and strong and bright. And we are grateful for the gifts that she brings to us. But with that, we are grateful how she influences our bodies and influences the waterways, so that through Grandmother Moon, through the water, and through the women of our nations, that our future generations are born. We are grateful. And finally, I look to the night sky, and I see the stars that are up there. And I am told that those stars are our ancestors. They're watching over us. They're guiding us. They're leading us along our journey. And so with that, I would say, hi, thank you, merci, miigwech.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Khan, for the land acknowledgement. All right, if you're following along on our agenda, we didn't have any in-camera session of council today, so the first order of business will be the adoption of minutes from the April 18th meeting. Looking for a motion to approve, moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Strange. Any questions or comments of the minutes? All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Do we have any disclosures of pecuniary interest tonight? Councillor Nieuwesteeg? Okay. Thank you. Any other disclosures? Okay. If not, we'll go on to the mayor's report. I'll start off with obituaries. Reta Harrison, mother of Todd Harrison, our former Director of Finance. Lynn Wilson, a retired city employee from our clerk's department. And birthdays. Councillor Baldinelli. No, yeah. Monday, May 15th. Yeah, that's your birthday. Okay. And Tiffany Clark, our Director of Finance, next Thursday, May 18th. Okay. Yeah, I know. We had some Eid celebrations. We had one at the Mosque Aisha, and it was represented by Mayor Diodati, and we also had one at the Peace Mosque, and it was represented by Councillor Nieuwesteeg. At the National Day of Mourning, this was attended by Mayor Diodati along with Councillors Nieuwesteeg, Patel, and Lakoko. And there's a picture of that, and I see Councillor Morocco there as well. We had some flag raisings. The Children's Mental Health Awareness was attended by Mayor Diodati, along with Councillors Baldinelli, Lakoko, and Patel. And we had Poland's Constitution Day, so we raised the flag on that day as well. And that was attended by Mayor Diodati, along with Councillors Patel, Strange, Baldinelli, Lakoko, and myself. Some grand openings and business happenings, and I do believe that we have some photos as well. This is B. Montessori School, which was attended by Mayor Diodati. And the next one that we had was Monfree's Rum Cakes, and it was attended by Mayor Diodati and also Councillors Thompson and Lakoko. Some upcoming activities on this Saturday. We have the Penn Financial Mother Earth Day event, which is taking place at Fireman's Park, and that's going to run from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. It's sponsored by Penn Financial Credit Union, NPEI, Walker Brothers, Enbridge, OPG, and Niagara Community Foundation. This event is going to be something that we've been looking forward to for a while, because we're going to be giving out 500 trees for people to plant on their own properties. That's the first 500. We're also going to be taking lists of people, because we do plan to run out. So we will make sure that we get people trees, those that want them on their property. So we're going to start giving them out at 11 a.m. and it's on a first come, first served basis. But we are going to be creating lists of people who don't get a tree on Saturday. There's going to be volunteers there who are going to be planting 20 native trees at Fireman's Park. So for anyone who needs a demo on how to plant a tree, that'll be available. There's also going to be a free bicycle valet, compliments of Amici per la Vita, Niagara Cycling Club. There's going to be a free bike repair station, compliments of Heart Niagara. There's going to be a whole number of demonstrators, over 40 environmental vendors, youth activities, as well as the Stamford Center Volunteer Firemen's Association are going to have their concessions available. The entry fee is free, so please come out. There'll be plenty of parking available. I also wanted to update you on the City Nature Challenge. The 8th annual City Nature Challenge was conducted worldwide, and it just ended. The challenge encouraged people to get outside to take pictures and record the different types of wildlife species. These observations will help scientists and wildlife organizations with their research. Over 1.8 million observations were completed by 66,000 residents, with 57,000 different species recorded. And locally, the City of St. Catharines challenged the City of Niagara Falls to see who would record the most observations. I'm proud to say that the City of Niagara Falls won. We recorded more observations, so we recorded 215 to their 210. So congratulations to all the residents who participated, and in particular, I send a special thank you to Leslie Lawn, who recorded the most observations for our city. In other happenings, our next council meeting is coming up on Tuesday, May 30th, and that's it from the mayor's report and announcements. Moving on to deputations, and under 6.1, I believe that this was deferred over from last time, and it should be available on Zoom as well. I do believe that Councillor Campbell is on Zoom, so hopefully we can see them both. But this one is going to be the Moose Hide campaign, and looking for David Stevenson, if he's here. David, can you hear me?
Hi.
Oh, hi David, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Thanks. You can hear me, obviously?
Yeah, loud and clear, yeah.
Right, wonderful. Well, First of all, thanks very much for having us, or having me anyway, join the meeting for a few minutes just to share a little bit about the Moose Hide campaign. As some of you might know, the Moose Hide campaign is an Indigenous-led grassroots movement of men and boys, and now all Canadians, who are walking the road of reconciliation and taking a stand against violence towards women and children. And our campaign is growing exponentially this year. Moose Hide Campaign Day, which is in 2 days from now, we have over 500,000 people registered to watch our live stream now, and we'll be holding a live event here in Victoria, and there will be events all across Canada. I'm calling in from the Lekwungen-speaking People's Territory right outside of Victoria, on the border of the Lekwungen-speaking and the Sinchothan-speaking People's Territory. And we're holding this event on May 11th, and a lot of, as you might know, a lot of, the big city mayors caucus have all challenged each other, and there's a lot of municipalities who are getting quite involved in the campaign. The campaign is started in 2011 along the Highway of Tears by a father and daughter who are First Nations from that territory. The Highway of Tears is Highway 16 that along in northern BC, really in the middle of BC, but everybody thinks it's north because everybody lives south. But it's Highway 16, known as the Highway of Tears, where so many women, and particularly Indigenous women, have gone missing or been murdered. And that was in 2011, and now we just had a ceremony last week in the Senate, the first time they've actually had a ceremony of this nature in the Senate lounge, to gift away our 3 millionth moose hide pin, 4th millionth moose hide pin, sorry. And the year before, we gave away our 3rd millionth moose hide pin to Senator Murray St. Clair. So I'm just doing a few of these, kind of jump in and say hello to a number of councils, mayor and councils across Canada, just to say, invite you personally to join the Moose Hide campaign. You can go to our website, moosehidecampaign.ca, and register there. And what a lot of cities are doing, what the federal government is now doing, we have a seconded employee from the federal government and seconded employee from the BC government and other governments coming on board, who are mobilizing their public service staff to get involved in the campaign, and specifically to take the day as a day of training and reconciliation and workspace safety and cultural diversity, these kinds of things. Part of the day includes free online interactive live workshops that mostly with Indigenous knowledge keepers and elders, but they're for staff to learn about reconciliation, culture, and gender issues, that kind of thing, and how to create safety in communities and families, communities, and organizations. As many of you know, there have been the issue of domestic violence significantly impacts all Canadian cities, municipalities. Police forces across Canada estimate that about 1/3 of all police resources in Canada are used to respond to intimate partner, domestic, or gender-based violence in communities, and it's a completely preventable thing. So we started out by the Moose Hide campaign started by Paul and Raven along the Highway of Tears, a young Indigenous family. They got the hide of a moose. They got a moose. They tanned up the hide, they cut up into little squares like this, and they handed out hides to all the friends and family in their neighborhood. They actually cut out the first 20,000 hides and actually hand wrote out on 20,000 index cards, if you wear this pin, you promise to never do harm to the women and children in your life, to honor, respect, and protect the women and children in your life, and to work with other men and boys to make sure that we create a country where women and children are free to get up, and walk around it in their communities freely and safely, which is not the case in so many of our communities right now. So they started that then, and as I said, we're now close to giving out actually our 5th millionth moose hide pin fairly soon. You can order moose hide pins for free. You can go to our website, moosehidecampaign.ca, to register for the day. You can register your staff, and when you do, you get all the assets. You can watch the live stream. There's a live stream going on during the day. There's the interactive workshops for staff or anybody who wants to take them. And you can also order moose hide pins there. The pins we send to you for free for you, your staff, your community, your schools, your faith-based community, your hockey teams. As you know, some of our most cherished institutions, me, I'm a hockey player, I used to be anyway. I used to sort of roll around on my ankles a bit with some friends. But you know, Hockey Canada, many of our prized institutions are impacted by some fairly unhealthy behaviors that have been carried out, not by everyone, by very few, but we need to create a culture where that's just not okay anymore. So that's part of our mission. And why we're reaching out to you, we have an active engagement with the federal government. You'll see the Prime Minister wearing it quite often. There will be member statements in the House. And many members of the Parliament wear it. Most provinces now, well, all provinces are somewhat involved, some very much so, some just coming on board. And a lot of major cities and municipalities are coming on board. We have pretty much every First Nation in Canada is supportive and involved one way or the other. We have a unanimous resolution of support from the chiefs, the Canadian chiefs. So we have it's a grassroots movement. We haven't done a lot of engagement at the grass tops, municipalities and province and federal government that are interested to hear about the campaign. And we invite you to wear and share the moose hide pins. Order the pins, they're for free. We consider them a medicine for a social illness impacting all Canadians. And so we offer the pins for free. We invite you to come to Moose Hide Campaign Day virtually for free. Invite your staff if they want to do that training. And we're just grateful to take a moment and share a bit about the campaign and the work we're doing, and very open to any questions or comments. Thanks very much.
Well, thanks, David. I appreciate those words, and I know you're right when you say that violence is 100% preventable. I mean, it all starts with awareness. I know last week, just being in the school system, on May 5th, everyone in my school anyway wore red for the missing and murdered Indigenous women. So I think any type of awareness that, you know, promotes the prevention of violence is good. I'll see if there's any questions of council members. Councillor Thompson. Okay, so Councillor Thompson is making a motion to accept your presentation and to support your cause. And I have a seconder by Councillor Lococo, and who wants to speak as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for your presentation, fully in support. I just want to make a comment. I've had a couple of texts that the volume is very, very low. People can't hear it. So for our IT department.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions of Mr. Stevenson? Okay, I'll take the vote then. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's been carried, Mr. Stevenson. So thanks again for making the presentation tonight, and hopefully we can support your cause.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Good luck, everybody.
Thanks, David.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Next, we have the Niagara Fiesta Extravaganza, and it's going to be the second one. And I would ask the organizers of the event to come forward. Hi, Eileen. How are you? Just make sure the red button is on.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm loud enough. Our acting mayor, Victor Pietrangelo, our members of City Council and staff. Good afternoon, and thank you once again for the opportunity to be here this afternoon. I've stood before City Council so many times in the past 30 years, and I feel like I'm always at home when I'm here, but it was last year when we came here to present our first Niagara Fiesta Extravaganza that I was really excited to present it to City Council and staff and to the city of Niagara Falls. Our very first Niagara Fiesta Extravaganza was held in July 2022. And with me this afternoon, the same as last year, is a group of young, energetic Filipinos in Niagara with a vision and ready to take on this project for the community. In 2022, Niagara Fiesta Extravaganza, being the first Filipino cultural festival in Niagara Falls, we were taking baby steps. We estimated about 2,000 people coming to our event. But with the help of the City of Niagara Falls, our city website and calendar of events, with Niagara Falls Tourism, that number was more than double of what we expected. And this hardworking, and if I may say, inspiring team that really delivered everything that we promised. From a very strong marketing team promoting this event to the hundreds of volunteers and team leaders, before, during, and after the event, the 2022 Niagara Fiesta Extravaganza was a tremendous success. It was a musical extravaganza with non-stop entertainment, cultural heritage presentations, games, sports, food expos, vendors, exhibits, and community partners. Last year at our event, we had over 5,000 people coming through the duration of the day and evening. And because of this success, our team decided right after our 2022 event, it will be a 2-day fiesta extravaganza in 2023. Our vendors and exhibitors have doubled. Our entertainers have doubled. We have more community partners involved, so it will be twice the fun this year. And to present our 2023 Niagara Fiesta Extravaganza information is Riza of the Ontario Festival of Culture, Arts, and Sports.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is not my first time, but this is the second time I'll be presenting the Niagara Fiesta Extravaganza here in Niagara region. Good afternoon, everyone. I thank you once again for the opportunity that you have provided to us as a Filipino Canadian here in Niagara region. Thank you for believing in us from day one up to now. Like what Tita Aileen says, it really duplicate what we have done from last year of 2022. And on behalf of OFCAS, Ontario Festival, Culture, Arts and Sports, and Niagara Fiesta Extravaganza, again, my name is Riza Gat-Bonton. I am excited and delighted to invite everyone to join us once again, to this 2-day event of the Niagara Fiesta Extravaganza for 2023. This is in collaboration of various community here in Niagara region. As you know, we have lots of community here in Niagara region. I will say this is in collaboration with FCAN, SPN, IGROT Niagara region, CAN, and JIL are this year's working community for Niagara Fiesta Extravaganza 2023. The demand of this event after last year is huge. Really, it's really big. What does it mean is we are expecting more visitors to come and visit us from different cities, provinces as well, including our neighbor, Buffalo and New York City. As we all know that this is also a celebration of Heritage Month, we will continue to raise the standard of multicultural awareness and that appreciation of our culture year after that so that we can deliver and give a massive, long-lasting impact to this community, which is the Niagara region. And I believe that partners, we believe that we can give more to our community. Thank you so much, everyone.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. This is my first time. I didn't know this is huge and there's a lot of people here. I thought it's just one-on-one kind of thing. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of the City Council, My name is Gerald Concepcion. I'm representing the Samang Filipino of Niagara. It's one of the small community, Filipino community in Niagara. The reason I joined this group, I saw the success of last year. If you would see it, you'll be stunned. I'm thinking, how many Filipinos or how many locals can fit in one concert hall? I was an audience at that time. I was not even a part of it. As soon as I saw them, think I want to be a part of this. For sure, my group would be more than happy to join this group. My only job here is asking permission for the city council to approve the extension noise up to 10:30 for 2 nights. If we don't get it, I know where you live. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
All right. Well, thank you. I mean, we're very happy that your event was so successful that you're, I guess, extending it over into the 2 days, and we appreciate the fact that you're going to host it here in Niagara Falls. I'm sure we can accommodate the request, which is to extend the invitation to everyone in Niagara and also the city's noise exemption bylaw. And I believe I have a motion from Councillor Nieuwesteeg. Yeah, and a question? Okay.
Hello. I just want to say congratulations on your first annual event last year, and wishing all the best this year. It sounds like you're already off to a great start, and I love the idea of the collaboration. It's wonderful. Just a couple of housekeeping questions. Can people just show up and get and enter then, or do they have to?
Yes, it is free admission for both
free,
days.
okay.
Yes, and there's parking there as well.
So you don't need help with parking?
No, no, we do have hundreds of volunteers right now that are doing the job of parking, showing where people can park their vehicles, and there is enough parking there right now.
Because we just went through and it was a fabulous event, the Easter egg hunt and parking. Just wondering if that was something that you needed. But anyway, I'd like to put a motion for it to say absolutely to extend the bylaw for the noise.
Okay, great. So we have a motion to extend an invitation to all council members, as well as promote the festival through social media and the city's website. And the second part of that was to extend the noise bylaw as well. I have a motion by Councillor Nieuwesteeg and seconded by Councillor Strange. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Sure.
thank you for coming to council once again, and with great success last year, and you're doing it 2 days this year, so just amazing. And what I know about the Filipino heritage or the people, they love food,
Yes,
they love singing, and they love
to
dancing.
dance,
So we know
yes.
it's going to be a big party, and it's great to see that you're having your final day on my birthday on August 6th.
wow.
I really appreciate it. So if
we'll make sure we mention that.
we'll extend the bylaw all night for August 6th then.
Okay.
We appreciate
Till
it.
midnight, are you gonna give us?
For sure.
Councillor Patel. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And actually, you know what? Nobody knows how to celebrate like more than Filipino community. They
Thank you.
love to party, and their party's amazing. And another thing is they really give back to community. They have a basketball league, they have a volleyball league, they really give back to community. They are setting the example for other communities, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, if there aren't any other comments, then I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. So
Thank
good
you.
luck
Thank
with
you.
the event. We hope to support you and be out there.
Thank you.
Okay, our next presentation is the Family and Children's Services of Niagara Foundation. And I do believe that we have Caroline.
You can do it.
Is it Polkrabia?
Yeah.
Yeah? Hey, all right, welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having us here today. We did this for the first time last year, and it was virtual, so I have to say it is incredible to be here in person. We weren't sure this event was going to go off last year because it was touch and go, but pandemic held out, and we were able to hold it. So good evening, and thank you very much for allowing us to be at your meeting today. We're really excited today to give you some information about the Mountain View Lemonade Day for FACS Niagara. It's going to be on Saturday, June 30th this year. It's our second annual event, and we're hoping once again to receive your support and endorsement for this initiative. My name's Caroline Polgravia, and I'm the president of the FACS Foundation Board. And I am joined today where's Ellen? Ellen Chomel, and she is our Manager of Donor Relations. And I am also joined today by my inspiration, Mr. Jaden Paul Grabia. So if you would indulge me, Jaden would like to do the presentation today.
Ah, cool.
Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure.
You have your permission? Go ahead, bud.
Welcome, Jaden.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Jaden Paul Grabia, and thank you for allowing me to be here today. The foundation has been around for nearly a quarter century, raising money to support the mission of FACS Niagara. FACS receives government funding for core programs and services. The foundation exists to raise funds to further support children, youth, and families being served by the agency. The money raised by our generous donors goes to support programs and services that are identified by our dedicated staff, for which the agency receives no government funding. Next slide. This idea came from a couple young people in Niagara who wanted to do something to help other children. As you may recall, Mountain View Lemonade Day invites families to set up a lemonade stand in their communities to collect donations to support summer camp programs. Summer camp has so many social and emotional benefits that support children's positive growth and develop, like building self-esteem, create a sense of belonging, and making valuable social skills. Thanks to our title sponsors, the Mountain View Building Group, 100% of the money raised goes to sending deserving children to summer camps. Their support allows us to provide everything a family needs to host a very successful lemonade stand. Here you can see a quote from Anna from FACS.
It's okay, Jay, go ahead.
I don't know the quote.
That's okay, move on, but oh, there you are, Betty.
There are so many children in our community who deserve an opportunity to be with friends, connect with nature, and make lasting childhood memories. Families supported by FACS sometimes have the lack of financial resources to send their children to camp. We truly believe that all children should have the opportunity to have these enriching experiences in childhood, which makes this event so important. Last year, with the support of families and municipalities such as yourselves, we were able to raise more than $85,000 to send children to camp. This year, we are hoping for an even bigger and better event that can make a positive difference in our lives of even more families. So what did $85,000 support? Last year, we were able to send more than 400 children in the Niagara region with a great summer experience. This included sending children to a week-long day camp within the region, also included sending some children to week-long overnight camps outside of Niagara. We were also able to support foster families so they could take their children they are caring for on family camping excursions. And because we are still dealing with the COVID pandemic, we also provided special home camp at home baskets to families with health and safety concerns, so they could enjoy a wonderful summer from the comfort of their own homes. These baskets included things like scooters, sports equipment, sprinklers, and other toys to help them explore nature and keep their kids active. Family and Children's Services provide a range of services in the community to keep children safe and families strong. Did you know that more than 93% of families supported by the agency receive services in their own home? Our goal is to provide proactive support to keep families together. And the goal of Mountain View Lemonade Day for FACS Niagara is also to give many children as we can an amazing summer camp experience. As I mentioned, we provide everything a family needs to host a successful lemonade stand. Families will register for their stand and will receive a full kit including a lemonade banner, team t-shirts and hats, lemonade concentrate, stickers, and even cups. As you can see in the photo on the slide, families also decorate their own stands and make an amazingly fun and engaging day for everyone. All the items I had mentioned previously are funded through our sponsors, meaning that every dollar we raise goes towards sending other kids to camp. There are no administrative fees and no direct cost to families who would like to participate. Registration opened last week. Anyone can visit the Foundation's website for more information and to register for their lemonade stand. They can also call the Foundation's number on the slide. We are asking all municipalities in the Niagara region to help make the summer a little sweeter for everyone. We would be grateful for Council's support in raising awareness and help increase the number of lemonade stands in your community. We would appreciate you sharing on your social feeds and any other communication channels that you have available. And if you are willing, we would appreciate it if you could declare Saturday, June 10th, 2023 as Mountain View Lemonade Day for Fax Niagara. And we would also appreciate that Niagara Falls can be turned yellow. Thank you very much for your attention and consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thanks, Jaden. I think everyone wants to ask you a question, if that's okay.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks for stepping up. It was a wonderful presentation. I think it's a great product, serving lemonade, and it's a great time of the year, June 30th. Everyone is out of school at that time. I think you guys finished like a day or two earlier. So I know that they're going to have a lot of helpers in place. I'm sure we can pass your proclamation. I'm sure that we can share it via our social feeds from the city's website, as well as Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And I'm sure that we can turn the falls yellow. I think one of the things I want to say too is it's a great cause, because we have to keep in mind that, you know, to some of the kids that fax services, that's their summer vacation, is getting away to a summer camp. So we're happy to help wherever we can. I don't know if anyone here has any questions or comments for Jaden. Oh, June 10th is the proclamation. Yeah. So we got the proclamation. We have sharing it on social media and also turning the falls yellow on that day. I think I got everything. Okay, so I have a motion by Councillor Patel, seconded by Councillor Baldinelli to make those three things happen. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jaden. Appreciate it. All right, our next presentation, which also has a report attached to it, is from the Tennis Dome Partnership with the Tennis Clubs of Niagara. And I know that we have Adam Siegel with us tonight, I believe. Is Adam online, perhaps?
Everyone, can you hear me okay?
Hi, yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. That's a great backdrop you got.
Thank you. Yeah, you'll notice that nobody's moving, so it's not a live shot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But first I have to say, wow, Jaden, that's a tough act to follow. That was really impressive. So well done, good on you. But I do appreciate members of council the opportunity to present to you the actual opportunity to bring tennis on a year-round basis to the city of Niagara Falls. I know that I shared over a presentation how would that work? Would I share it from my end again, or you guys, do you bring it up on your end? If you could just help me out with that, that would be great.
Okay, yep, staff are going to bring it up for you, Adam.
Okay, great, thank you. Perfect. Thank you. So, yes, as I mentioned, we're here to talk about the opportunity to bring indoor tennis during the fall and winter months to the city of Niagara Falls. And look forward to going through the presentation and answering questions that you might have. You guys could skip to the next slide for me. Thank you. So just a quick overview of the presentation. Talk a little bit of who we are at Tennis Clubs of Canada, why tennis, the specific need for indoor tennis in the Niagara region, our project and the vision, and then our specific proposal. Next slide. So who is Tennis Clubs of Canada? Well, humbly speaking, we are the leading operator of affordable, accessible indoor tennis in Canada. We have over 40 years of experience partnering with municipalities. We currently have 6 facilities, 5 seasonal and 1 year-round, with 5 new facilities slated to open this coming fall. We're also deep into conversations with 6 other municipalities, and this goes across the country all the way out to Alberta and BC. Those 6 scheduled to open 2024, 2025, and many other kind of in the infancy stages of the discussions. So we're really excited about the opportunity of bringing the sport, the game of a lifetime, across the country, and specifically today to talk about Niagara Falls. A little bit more about us. We really take pride in providing something for everyone. So with that, we have a wide range of programming, social programs, competitive programs, training, camps, tournaments, casual bookings, anything and everything to ensure that everybody enjoys the facilities. As I mentioned previously, one of our corporate objectives is on affordability and accessibility. We talk very much about us being facilitators. And what I mean by that is we understand that we're here to facilitate the vision and the dreams of the local tennis community to bring affordable and accessible tennis to the municipality. Humbly speaking again, we have the opportunity to work with the national governing body of tennis in the country, Tennis Canada, on numerous occasions, including various consulting projects, as we look to together continue to grow tennis throughout the country. Next slide. So with that, if we just kind of focus in one back. I think it's slide 4. There you go. Thank you. So our vision is very succinctly put, is to create tennis players for life. Our ownership team are tennis players themselves. We all love tennis. It's given us so much, and we want to give back to the sport that's given us so much. We achieve our vision through our mission of growing the game in the local community by providing something for everyone. So I mentioned that earlier in the types of program we offer. You'll see the theme of community as I go through this presentation, and that comes up in our very next segment here, our values. When I say next, if you want to scroll back, I threw you off there. Our values are our passion. I hope that comes through in our presentation today. Our focus on customer service, our sense of community, and building relationships. Next slide, thank you. So delving a little bit deeper into when we talk about community, is really taking action and walking that talk. So we have an arm of our company, which is indicated as serving the greater good. And our serving the greater good is to reach out to community beyond even what we do at the tennis club through different fundraisers and donations, employment and volunteer opportunities, financial assistance programs, supporting our members and their initiatives, supporting the municipality with their charitable initiatives. Again, we're using tennis as a metaphor to impact community as much as possible. Next slide, please. So with that, we're excited to, it's been about a year now, we have a new addition to our ownership team. So there's 4 of us now, and our newest addition is Milos Raonic. For those of you who don't know who Milos is, he's the most successful tennis player in Canadian history, reached a career high of number 3 in the world, reached the Wimbledon final, and he actually grew up at one of our clubs, Blackmore Tennis Club. trained as a junior for many years. I proudly say that I can beat him. Sorry, let me rephrase it. I did beat him when he was 12, and then he beat me pretty badly at 13. I think we stopped playing after that. But it's been wonderful that we've maintained a relationship over the years with him, and he is so aligned with our vision of serving community. And his specifically for him is he really likes to focus on the youth, providing affordable and accessible access to tennis facilities, and he's been quite involved with us and will continue to be as we move forward. So very excited to always make that announcement. Next slide. So why tennis though? Well, I want to share with you a couple of metrics here, and these metrics are actually pre-pandemic. So prior to the pandemic, the previous 10 years, tennis saw a 250% growth in frequent tennis play in the country. When we talk about youth, as I mentioned with Milosh's focus, a 300% growth in under 12 frequent tennis players. Now, since the pandemic happened, as it was one of the safest activities that we could partake in during the pandemic, our numbers have just absolutely boomed. Not only ourselves, but my counterparts at clubs throughout the country I speak to, tennis is boomed everywhere. We have wait lists at every one of our clubs now between 100 to 200 members. Our programs have wait lists between 100 to 400 members. And as the pandemic has, I think now we can say officially ended, I heard, our numbers have continued to either maintain or grow. So tennis is absolutely on the rise right now. And next slide, please. So as I've mentioned a little bit throughout this presentation, is we use tennis as a metaphor for serving community and individuals within community and the community at large. So there's a number of statistics I provided on the right side of the slide, but I really want to focus your attention to the graph here. And if you notice this graph, it talks about life expectancy or the increase in life expectancy correlated with a particular activity. So we can see badminton coming in at second place. Of course, I'm competitive, I'm a tennis player, so we call it second place. And adding 6.2 years to your life if you play badminton. And there's tennis, first place, 9.7 years, over 50% more than second place. When I first saw this graph, I was just blown away by it. I said, how is that? So I did a lot of research, looked at studies, talked to people, and came to the conclusion it's beyond the actual physical activity. As we can see, all these other sports are quite physical, provide a lot of benefits. But what tennis really provides, in addition to the physical benefits, are the mental and social well-being. It's a sense of belonging. It's a real sense of community that we bring in at our clubs. We jokingly say our target market is 4 to 94, and I'm only slightly exaggerating as we've had 91-year-olds play at the club. So that just really gives you an idea. And again, there's many other health benefits. I think it's really important to focus on the holistic approach to why tennis clubs are important. Next slide, please. But we have a problem. As we know, unfortunately, we don't have, our October to April is not like living in the Caribbean. And we see what this person's seeing trying to play tennis here. Certainly wouldn't advise playing tennis in those types of conditions. And that's where we come in. So to truly enjoy those benefits that I mentioned in the previous slide, we need to provide year-round tennis. Next slide, please. So looking specifically at the need in the Niagara region. So as you obviously know, Niagara region has a population of over 484,000, is growing rapidly, but there are only 10 indoor courts. So that's one indoor court for 48,000 residents. Tennis Canada's recommendation is one court per 10,000 residents. So really the Niagara region is basically hitting about 20% of the need of the region. So certainly more year-round tennis is needed. Next slide, please. So what's the project look like in terms of what we're proposing here? So we're proposing to cover the existing 4 courts at John and Allen Park, so the tennis can be provided to the community on a year-round basis. But we're looking to do so not in a permanent structure, but in an air-supported structure. You might hear me interchangeably use the words dome or bubble, but we're talking about a removable structure, and there are a number of benefits to that, but the one I really want to focus in on at the moment is the fact that we're up using the courts during a season where they're just sitting idle, being abused by our winter conditions, This way the assets are actually protected by the dome. You won't see any cracks in the courts going forward because of that. And then you take the dome down at the end of April and everybody enjoys the spring and summer seasons that they've been enjoying currently. And there'll be wonderful synergies created between the outdoor season and the indoor season. Next slide, please. So our vision, just as kind of to repeat what I said previously, is to provide affordable, accessible tennis for the citizens, for the residents of Niagara Falls and surrounding community during the fall and winter months to supplement the outdoor season during the spring and summer months. Next slide, please. So in terms of the partnership we're proposing, firstly, as I've mentioned throughout this motif of working with community, we work very closely with Tennis Canada, as I mentioned, also the Ontario Tennis Association. We would be looking to work with the Niagara Peninsula Tennis Community and BAC Tennis, which are not-for-profit community tennis associations committed to growing the sport of tennis in the municipality and in the region. So we would be looking to enter into a lease or license agreement, which we have with our other municipalities, where the City of Niagara Falls would act as the landlord, Tennis Clubs of Canada would act as the tenant. Again, aligned with our other municipal agreements, we would be asking for a 20-year partnership. But the most important thing to understand is that Tennis Clubs of Canada are coming to not only make this cost neutral to the city, as we will fund 100% of the capital costs related to the operation of the dome, and 100% of the operational costs related to the operation of the dome. We will also, on top of that, propose a lease fee as well. So that's not only just cost neutral, but the city is benefiting from a financial commitment from us, not to mention that the assets will be protected during the cold winter months. One thing that I have not mentioned throughout, and I wanted to say for this part, is we're, as I mentioned, looking to service community. So we've talked a lot about tennis. But what we're proposing at John and Allen Park is not only tennis, but other sports as well. We know that there are pickleball lines on the courts already. We'd like to offer pickleball to community, but other multiple sports as well, from cricket to futsal to basketball, ball hockey. Again, for us, it's how can we service more people within the community? Next slide, please. So that takes us to the end of the presentation. Really want to thank you for the opportunity for a potential partnership with the city, and certainly open any questions that you might have. Again, thank you for the time for being able to present here today.
Thanks, Adam. And I do have a couple questions. I have Councillor Strange first.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. And thank you, Adam, for the presentation. I was a little bit disappointed that I didn't see the sport of boxing on added years of life.
Hey, we can do it as well.
We could do it.
You gotta
it
sign
was
up
down.
first.
It was down below. It was like minus 10 years.
Anything and everything.
And a little bit of a debate when you said that the best player is Milos, and I think Daniel Nestor might have something to say about that. My buddy Daniel won every major.
Yeah.
So up for debate, but anyways, I think it's just a great concept. Thank you for the presentation, and I love that you could add some sports. We know we're looking for more space for cricket, and as well for pickleball. And we know it's coming into, and a lot of people in Niagara would like to play that, especially during the winter season. So thank you for bringing this to the rec committee, and we appreciate it. I've heard it already during one of the presentations a few months back. But we appreciate it, and I'm willing to make the motion as well to recommend this. I just want to thank you for coming and presenting this, and hopefully we can get Milos and maybe Daniel Nestor down here for the ribbon cutting.
If I could just mention, by the way, you're absolutely right. I should have qualified the most successful singles.
Singles, okay, there you go.
If you're talking, you're right. If we're talking results, Daniel Nestor is arguably top 2 or 3 greatest doubles player in the history of all of tennis. Oh, yes. So I agree with you.
Yes. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. And I do have a motion by Councillor Strange, seconded by Councillor Lococo, to move forward with the recommendation. And did you have a couple comments as well? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for the presentation, Mr. Spiegel. I was wondering if you could answer how much the cost would be to a resident to play, whether that's tennis or pickleball. What is the cost?
Yeah, so we have a number of options, again, aligning with our affordability and accessibility. So you can join as a member. You can also play as a non-member. So a membership, we're just finalizing the details, and certainly on our website, all the information is there for our other clubs. It would be aligned with that. But typically you're looking around $400 to $500 for the 7 months. The court fees range between $24 to $28 per hour, but that's a court fee that's split amongst the player. So for example, non-prime time, you're looking at maybe $5 per person to play for an hour. And I should also mention, again, as our commitment to serve the community, we do offer discounts for families, couples, and seniors and children as well on the memberships.
Okay, thank you. I have a few questions, I guess, for our staff, if someone can answer them. So for 48 spaces, we have to asphalt the parking lot because we can't have a stone parking lot. Is that correct? Who will? Mr. Nicol?
Thank you, Councillor, to answer that question. We would prefer to asphalt the parking lot. In fact, it was the initial plan for the park to asphalt the parking lot, but the initial plans to improve it well exceeded our budgets at the time, so it was one of the items that was cut. But we think with the increase of population coming in the winter months, it would be a wise investment to pave it. So we have a couple options. We could look for pre-budget approval to try to get that work done this year before the tennis dome's installed, or we could proceed with it as a gravel parking lot this year. But we would have some safety concerns if we left it over winter this year. We would still plow it, but it wouldn't be lit, and it would have still some uneven surfaces left with some snow.
Okay, and then how much is the lighting? It says that there's going to be parking lot lighting, but we have to look at the cost. What are we talking about?
Yeah, thanks, and through you, Mr. Mayor. The parking lot lighting is included in that estimate of $250,000.
Okay, and we would not have plowed that lot before because it was gravel. We'll have to plow that. What is the cost of that?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have those estimates available to us. We would have city forces do that type of work. It's hard to estimate because we don't really know the frequency we get snow anymore. We do have our resources who maintain our parks and trails, and so this would be an added location to that plow route. And we would try to time it in the standard service that we plow our parks that are open in winter seasons.
Okay, and this is not in our current budget. This would be in addition. Where would the funds be coming from?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. There would need to be a budget amendment report that would come at a later date.
Is there a specific fund that the money would come from?
At this point, I would speculate that the best approach would be to look at pre-budget approval for 2024 because it's a capital item. But we would need staff to take that back and propose a few options perhaps for council's consideration.
Okay, and then my last question. 20 years seems like an awfully long time for a lease. Is there something that we can do for a trial to see how it is? I understand that Tennis Canada would be investing in the base of it, but 20 years seems like an awfully long time.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, I might look to Ms. Moldenhauer for comments on that, but I believe that, in my negotiations and conversations with Tennis Clubs of Canada, there is a certain, financial model that they need to operate on to make sure this is a viable option for the community. And so obviously there's a big capital outlay to invest in the dome and all the support structures and to take it down and so forth every year. So, I believe it has more to do with the financial viability of the proposal.
Thank you, Eric. Through the mayor. Yes, we did ask that exact question, Councillor Lococo, just regarding the term, and it does have to do with the financial investment the Tennis Centres of Canada is making. And we also did our research and we looked at other communities, and the term was consistent with other agreements. And through the mayor, to Adam, do you have any other additional comments you'd like to add to that question?
I think you guys both covered it. Yeah, it's just to make sure that it's from a financial capital cost point of view, it's quite an undertaking, and yeah, we do usually keep that commitment to ensure that it is viable.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to make sure that we were talking about putting asphalt on that parking lot, but because of budget, we decided not to, but now we're going to because of this.
Yeah, and I'll clarify, there are two options. We could leave it as is, which is a lower level of service. There's no lights on the parking lot, and we would plow a gravel parking lot. Obviously, that's a risk to us because we have more people on the site in the evenings when this is, obviously operating. So staff would prefer to pave it, and we could come back with that budget amendment report, and then at that time, council can decide how they'd like to address that level of service.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Okay. And you're still seconding it, right?
No, I'm not seconding.
You're not. Okay, then I have Councillor Thompson that was seconding it. Okay. I have Councillor Nieuwesteeg.
I just want to say I appreciate Councillor Lococo's comments. I'm looking at it from a different point of view, though. I'm always of the view that you need to maximize things. So we've heard all the benefits of what it does for our residents, but when we have space that's sitting there and not doing anything during the winter months, I think investing so that we can make good use out of idle space is really worth paying attention to. So I appreciate the extra cost it's going to be, but I guess it's that the glass half empty, half full scenario. So to me, I think maximize everything we can. It's sitting there, invest, and then the residents can use it. Just a recent comment I heard also on the seniors committee, and this seems to be a big thing. I've been speaking with people that are new to our area, and one of the things that had disappointed some of them is that we don't have a lot of extra activities, and tennis happened to be one of them. So when I saw this report, I thought, oh, this is exactly what these people are speaking about. So adding more facilities for our residents, I think, is a good idea. So I think we can look at both the cost, but yet this might be something that offsets it. So I just want to say I appreciate this, and thank you for looking at Niagara Falls as for your project.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify as well that the costs are only to our assets. Like the parking lot is our asset, the lighting is our asset. The actual cost of the construction of the dome and the operation, or the operating cost of it, is going to be taken over by Tennis Clubs of Canada. Councillor Strange, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. Just a question through our acting CAO / Municipal Works Director. Wouldn't this help us in the winter maintain the tennis courts a lot better? You wouldn't have to. A lot of maintenance happens because of winter damage. You got to take the nets down and now that we have a dome over it and people are allowed to play on it, doesn't it help us in a way as well?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Absolutely it does. It's the freezing and thawing effects that we have from our winters and the lack of drainage underneath all of those structures that will really deteriorate those pavements. And the UV. We have UV in the summer. So that, and our parking lot, if we did pave it, would also be a better asset for summer periods, and it'll be easier for us to maintain. So there are a number of other benefits that are longer lasting than strictly the dome itself.
And that would be a big savings to our city in the long run as well.
I believe it would, Councillor, yes.
Okay, thanks. If there aren't any other questions, then I have a motion to approve the report by Councillor Strange, seconded by Councillor Thompson. I'll call that vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And we have one opposed. Thank you, Adam. Great presentation, and the motion's been approved, so we're looking forward to the indoor tennis court.
Very exciting, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. We look forward to servicing the community for many years.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks. Take care, guys.
Okay, we'll move on to planning matters, and I would now ask the city clerk to introduce the next item on the agenda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. A public meeting is now being convened to consider a proposed amendment to the city zoning bylaw to permit 10 stacked townhouse dwelling units that may be used as vacation rental units at 4078 Victoria Avenue. Notice was given by first class mail in accordance with the Planning Act on April 6th, 2023, and by posting a sign on the property in question. Anyone who wants notice of the passing of the zoning bylaw amendment or preserve their opportunity to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal shall give notice to the city clerk immediately after today's public meeting or by signing the sign-in sheet located outside of the council chamber.
Thank you, Ms. Corbett, and I believe that we are going to have Mr. Turnbull explain the purpose and the reason for the proposed bylaw amendment.
Thank you, and good evening, Acting Mayor Pietrangelo, members of council, and members of the public. Before council tonight is a proposal to rezone 4078 Victoria Avenue to permit the construction of 10 stacked townhouse dwelling units that may be used as vacation rental units. Here we have the location of the subject land. The lands are located on the corner of Leader Lane and Victoria Avenue. The lands are currently vacant, but previously contained a detached dwelling that has since been demolished. Directly north of the subject property is Great Wolf Lodge Water Park Resort. Immediately south are vacant lands and detached dwellings. Further south are lands zoned general industrial and light industrial. Properties to the west are zoned light industrial, and directly east of the property is an unimproved laneway and detached dwellings. The subject lands are approximately 0.12 hectares in size, are designated tourist commercial, and are within the Special Policy Area Number 62, the Transit Station Area Secondary Plan, and the Whirlpool Tourist Satellite District. Vacation rental units and standalone residential development are permitted uses under designations that apply to the property. The land is currently zoned tourist commercial under zoning bylaw 79-200, and the application before council tonight is requesting that the subject lands be rezoned to a site-specific tourist commercial zone to facilitate the proposed development. The applicant is proposing the development of a stacked townhouse building with 10 dwelling units that may be used for vacation rental units. The units are proposed to be provided on the ground floor, second story, and third story. A total of 20 parking spaces are being proposed. 12 of these spaces will be provided at grade, located below the second story. 8 of those spaces are to be provided in tandem. 12 spaces are to be provided in tandem. The remaining 8 spaces are provided to be in the parking area to the rear. The development is proposing access to the units from both Victoria Avenue and Leader Lane, and vehicle access from Leader Lane as well. Shown here are the proposed elevations of the stacked townhouse building. This is the northwest elevation, showing the view from Victoria Avenue and Leader Lane. And shown here is the proposed elevation from the southwest. The site-specific zoning provisions requested for this proposal are depicted on this slide and include relief for permitted uses, minimum rear yard depth, maximum building height, minimum maneuvering aisle, and minimum parking stall length. A neighborhood open house was held on April 24th, 2023, and was attended by the applicant and the applicant's planners. No public comments were received. In conclusion, staff recommend that council approve the zoning bylaw amendment application subject to the recommendations contained in staff report PBD 2023-27. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Turnbull. Are there any questions from members of council? Okay. Members of the public are advised that failure to make... Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you have a question to Mr. Turnbull? Yep. Sorry.
There's access from Victoria Avenue. Thank you for your presentation. And there's access from Leaders Lane and Victoria Avenue. Are they both driveway or one is a side walking access?
Yeah, pedestrian access from both, but vehicle access is only available via Leader Lane.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Members of the public are advised that failure to make an oral or written submission at this public meeting will result in the Ontario Land Tribunal dismissing any referral it receives. Failure to notify the city clerk to preserve their opportunity to appeal will result in staff rejecting an appeal as per section 3419 of the Planning Act. Council will hear from anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw amendment. Madam Acting Clerk? Do we have anyone who wishes to speak?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have a couple of people that are attending. They are in the gallery.
In the chambers? Okay.
Yes. I have a Mr. Fredishak, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
And
Pardon?
we're with the applicant.
Oh, I'm
And you're
sorry.
with the applicant.
Pardon me. Pardon me.
Okay. So, Mr. Redishak? Or no? Okay, let me just ask, is there anyone here for or against this application? Anyone in the audience? Okay.
Yeah. So now you can go.
Okay, council will now hear from the applicant or his or her representative.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I don't see the need to do my presentation. Scott covered most of the major points. We reviewed staff's report and are in support of all recommendations. And as Scott mentioned, there are some site-specific provisions being requested, so I'm happy to answer any questions regarding the application.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're talking about VRU, so I just want to ensure that this doesn't go into our housing inventory. I know we've been talking about those, and there are a few places within the report that it talks about residential intensification, accessible housing choices. If these are VRUs right from the beginning, I think maybe those references should be removed from the report, but I completely support the proposal.
Okay. Are there any other questions of the presenter? No, right? No. Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Strange.
I think it was a great presentation, and I think it's somewhere where we might need this type of build, especially being right near Great Wolf Lodge. A lot of the times they're sold out, so a lot of people can come, go to Great Wolf Lodge and stay at this housing probably for a lot cheaper as well. So thank you, and I'm willing to make the motion.
Okay, I just got to close the meeting. So with that said, if there aren't any other questions, the public meeting with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is now concluded. Councillor Thompson? Okay. Councillor Thompson wanted to make the motion to support staff's recommendation, seconded by Councillor Strange. If there aren't any other questions, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on under reports. Our very first one is CLK 2023-04. This is a fee waiver application from Crazy Macaw's Bike Night. And not sure if staff wanted to introduce it or just leave it be.
I think that there are some people here that doesn't just need to
Okay. Great. Perhaps we can, yeah, Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've talked extensively with staff and with the applicant. The report says that the application is not complete. That's not exactly accurate. There's one application that was entered a while ago, and then there's a second one, and the second one does have the budget and does have the letter from the charity, so it is complete. I suggest that we approve this in principle with the same amount as the car show and go with the same dates as the car show, and to leave this up to the staff and the applicant to work out the dates and times. I know the applicant wanted certain dates and times and staff wanted certain dates and times, so they can work it out on their own. And there was also a comment about not supporting it because it could be benefiting a business. That's what we do with all of these applications. It's no different than the car show. All of the benefits, all of the businesses benefit on Queen Street, so I don't think that that has any factors in this. So I would like to support it. So I guess I have to deny the report as recommended from the staff, but my recommendation is to approve it in principle and let staff and the applicant work out the dates and the times, and to a maximum of 7404, which was the car night.
Okay. I know we have some people that are here in the audience that wish to speak, so I'm going to go to them first, actually. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to this item? It's the fee waiver application for Crazy Macaw's. Nobody. Okay. With that said then, you can feel free to put a motion on the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my motion is not to accept the staff recommendation and to accept the application in principle, to go to a maximum of 7404, which was the car night, so it's in line with the car night, and that our staff and the applicant can work out the dates and the times. There was some discussion about those.
Okay. And do I have a seconder to that motion? I have to ask again, do I have a seconder to the motion? I have no seconder. Councillor Nieuwesteeg.
So we were.
Could we have the money involved with this project?
Sure. Did you want staff to explain
Yes.
how they came up with the actual dollar value?
Yes.
Okay, I can. Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So to help council with the explanation, you see a range of fee waivers. The cost for us to close the road and open it every Thursday is $300 in staff overtime. And we have a one-time $250 admin fee. So every event will start to incur costs. So the lengthier of the season of events we have, where we're closing the roads every Thursday of every week, will increase the amount of fee waiver that they're asking for. So staff would prefer that if this is approved to limit the time frame between the end of May and the end of August. And we'd also prefer to limit the approval for the road closures on a month-by-month block. And so at the end of the day, if council has a will to approve the fee waiver for the reasons that were laid out in the amended application, it would only be waiving actual fees, and we'd only be closing the road for a time period that staff are comfortable closing the road on a 1 month at a time rolling permit. So if things are not going well, we wouldn't renew the permit application for the road closure for the next month. I hope that helps explain what our fees would be. And so the total of fees for the staff preferred option is, I believe, $4,750. If we were to approve the full road closures of the full duration, which would have even been this past week, I believe, that is where you get the $9,520 fee waiver. That's before you.
That explains it better for you? Yep. Okay. I have Councillor Nieuwesteeg and then Councillor Patel.
I'd like to go back and speak to the whole concept of this fee waiver. When we were presented a few months ago, we have $51,000. We went over budget last year, and we have to be very prudent in how we spend this money. It's taxpayers' money, and what are we giving? And at the time, we were very consistent speaking about a hand up, not a hand out. And we referenced the Nova House, which is now called the Birchway. And when we looked at their proposal, besides the non-monetary benefit of literacy and not having things going to the landfills being books and people being able to afford books, we also saw that they were asking for, I think it was just shy of $7,000. In return, they were raising $95,000. So we're looking at about a 13%. So we have to be fiscally responsible when we hand money out. So that amount, and for them to come back and earn 13% on that amount, I think is very
13 times.
13 times that amount. So so that to me is a good investment. It's something that we give a little bit and they take it and work really hard with our volunteer time. I'm struggling with this because I hate to say no to charity, but in this particular case, they're taking 13% of that $51,000, and I'm not seeing a return that we can really say benefits our community. I'm not even sure if these are local charities as well. So I'm struggling unless they can provide a better, and maybe we can defer it and they can come back and say, and show us a better return on investment, then I'd be able to support it. But at this point, I can't support it. We owe it to the taxpayers to be fiscally responsible with the money and let volunteers take a little seed and grow it as opposed to giving them a flower. And anyway, my comments. Thank you for it.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Nieuwesteeg. And I have Councillor Patel and then Councillor Coco.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I agree with the Councillor Nieuwesteeg because I don't like saying no to charities, but I don't think we have much of the budget left in our $51,000, and we're only in May, so we still have lots of months to go. And I would like to support them. I don't want to say no completely, so I would like to support them for $47.50, what staff is recommending. So I will put a motion through for $47.50 for support.
Okay. So I have a motion made by Councillor Patel to support the Crazy Macaws Bike Night fee waiver application to the tune of $4,750. Is there a seconder to the motion? Seconded by Councillor Lococo. And Councillor, you're next.
Yes, thank you. I will second it. I agree with what we've talked about of trying to make more of what we're giving. The issue I have on this one is exactly the same as the car night. And we approved car night 3 meetings ago at 7404, and it's going to charity as well. And the issue with this one is, had we notified them when we were supposed to with all of the other charities, this application would have been in the first quarter with everyone. But because there was the dissolvement of the BIA and us not notifying them, when they went to go apply, then they heard that we changed our process. So we would have had this before, and then we could have said, a little bit here, a little bit there. So it's unfortunate through circumstance that this has happened. So I'm willing to support the $47.50, and then they can at least work with that.
Okay. If there aren't any other questions, I do have a motion on the floor to, sorry, Councillor Strange.
You are acting CEO. Sorry. And this will be a month by month, so you'll bring back a report of how it's going, or no?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we don't require a report to come back to council for the road closure approvals. We don't feel comfortable approving a full, 3-4 month duration closure. We want to work with them in that month and then have the opportunity to sit back down and rework out any of those details. If we have concerns, we may not approve it.
Okay, perfect.
And especially if we hear concerns about noise and things like that. We're also looking at limiting the time frame and making sure that we're compliant with our noise bylaw and those things. So they may find that's not working. We might find that's not working, and we agree to part ways after that first month. But those are the reasons why we would keep it to a 1 month approval.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor to approve the $47.50. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried unanimously. Okay, I know we have an agenda in front of us, but I wanted to vary a little bit just because I know that we have some people here in the audience for different items. So if you'll indulge me for a second, if you flip over onto the next page, 8.4 is PBD 2023-26. This deals with Uppers Quarry Community Focus Group, and I know that we have Mr. Rupe, who has requested to speak to council. So Mr. Rupe, the floor is yours.
Everybody hear me okay? Good. Good evening, Mr. Acting Mayor, Acting
CAO.
I think we have a few acting people here tonight, but I'm not going to take that personal that we didn't have the real McCoys here. But
Dream team, that's what it is.
Council people, good evening. I see that Joyce and Kim had to leave, but I was able to have a few words with them before they left. I'd like to thank you again for supporting Fernwood subdivision request to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry to extend the deadline by 90 days to receive comments on Walker's application for a new quarry. Unfortunately, it was not accepted by the ministry. No reasons were given, but they did not accept it. Also, thanks to the Planning Department for providing me the initial peer review findings, although I was not given the terms of reference for the peer review. So if that could be provided, that would kind of complete the information sought. Since my last presentation, I guess 2 meetings ago, we've obtained signatures from about 359 residences and 11 businesses, not about a deferral, but actually a denial to submit to council that actually opposes a new quarry by walkers, and signatures continue to be obtained by our group. I agree with the planning department that a citywide referendum on the issue is something that needs to be considered by council at the appropriate time, because it does affect all residents of Niagara Falls. Since I last spoke to City Council, the Mayor signed bylaw number 2023-023, which stated that tourism is now the major employer in Niagara Falls with the decline of heavy manufacturing. Is a new quarry helping to facilitate tourism? That's a question for you. Clause 8.54 and 8.55 of this bylaw specifically highlight the need to protect residential areas from incompatible land uses, particularly with regard to noise, traffic, and other offensive characteristics. Who is the judge of what is offensive? Tonight I want to address specifically the formation of the community focus group as outlined in the attached document to tonight's agenda. A needs study still has not been provided to the public. Why is an additional quarry needed? How can someone accurately predict what the needs are going to be in 25 to 40 years from now? In a report prepared by Golder Associates, a well-known geotechnical and municipal consultant, on a per capita basis, aggregate consumption has been on a longer-term decline, and this downward trend is expected to continue going forward. Secondary sources of material, primarily recycled materials, have played an increasing role, and recycled material is expected to continue to gradually increase its contribution to total aggregate consumption over the next 20 years. Again, what is the need for a new quarry? An inadequate site location investigation has not been performed by the applicant. The criteria given by Walkers to its consultants was to pick a location within 2 kilometers of its existing quarry. That kind of narrows it down considerably. If you look at a map of available resources, there's numerous areas in the Niagara Peninsula. In a recent presentation by Walker, they had a slideshow which started with a picture of the proposed new hospital in Niagara Falls. Were Walker suggesting that the aggregate was needed for the hospital construction? The concrete is being provided by Dufferin Construction under contract to Ellis Stone. This concrete aggregate is being supplied from Dufferin's pit in the metropolitan Toronto area. So much for the argument that a quarry must be located near to the intended marketplace to be price competitive. Representatives from Walker Industries should not be part of the community focus group. Walker are required to demonstrate to the MNRF that they have collaborated with the community in an attempt to overcome any objections to the planned quarry. Why is the city facilitating this collaboration for them? To date, numerous comments and questions submitted to Walkers have gone unanswered. What is Walker up to? Maybe Walker is too preoccupied with a proposed development at Mountain Road in Cler to respond to residents' concerns, knowing that the city is promoting the required collaboration for them. Given that Walker remained silent about their prospective quarry development as it acquired property since 2002 during debate and subsequent construction of the Fernwood subdivision, was this an example of Walker being a good neighbor, which they profess to want to be? How is the city, or is it up to Walker Industries to compensate the residents for their properties? Is this a topic for any eventual community focus group? We remain concerned about adequate notification means. This is notification by the city. With regard to the proposed development at Mountain Road in Cler, the mayor indicated that the matter was on a past agenda, and if residents objected, they should have said something at the time, just because it was on the agenda. Just because something is on a council's agenda, it does not mean the public has been notified. As part of our efforts to obtain signatures for our deny petition, we were surprised by the level of ignorance which existed within the city that a new quarry was actually being proposed. It is noted in the planning CFG documentation that invitations and notices will be sent to those who have submitted comments on the application. I don't quite understand that statement. Comments submitted to whom? Please reconsider how City Council notifies the Niagara Falls residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ripe. If you just want to hang on 1 second, I'll see if I have any questions from
Okay.
members of council. I know I have one question, and that is, have you requested the peer review findings and haven't gotten them yet?
I have, as I mentioned earlier, I did get the peer review findings, but I didn't get the terms of reference. You know, there must be some criteria
Right.
that the peer reviewers should have had when they were looking at the documents.
Okay. Is that something that we can send out to Mr. Rupe?
Through you, Your Worship, we will, look at the file to see what was sent out as far as terms of reference. But I believe that they would have been summarized in the studies themselves.
Well, having read the studies that I was given, there's only one that refers to terms of reference.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been customary for you to provide some criteria that the peer reviewers should look at.
Okay, yeah, through you, we will look at that, and any terms of reference that were provided, we'll provide to Mr. Rupe.
Okay. Thank you. And are there any other questions of Mr. Rupe from members of council? Councillor Lococo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Mr. Rupe. Would you participate in a community focus group? Would you see benefit if you were asked to participate?
I would participate if walkers were not involved.
Okay, thank you.
I think it should be a kind of a two-step process. I think that the community would welcome the community focus group, some initiative from the council to get people together to understand within the city. The city is, I'd like to say it's the final decision maker, but certainly it's one step in the decision maker. So the city council should understand firsthand what these concerns are. It's clear that no one wants a quarry.
Okay, thank you. I'm wondering if there could be in a community focus group a different cycle. So maybe the first cycle would just be with residents that live there, residents in the whole community, and then involve Walker later. Not to say that Walker doesn't have to be involved, but involve them at a specific time with specific terms of reference about what the community focus group would be part of. Would that help your concern at all through the chair?
I believe that the community focus group consisting of residents within Niagara Falls, not just Fernwood, but within Niagara Falls would be a great first step, because I'm not in favor of a quarry, and there's nothing that Mr. Walker can say to me that would convince me that it's a good idea to replace agricultural land with a open pit mine. But it's up to walkers to consult. I don't think that the city should be taking it upon themselves to facilitate that.
Okay, thank you. And I guess maybe to Ms. Dolch, what would Walker's role be in a community focus group, if we can have that explained?
Thank you, through your acting worship, to the councillor. So a community focus group, the reason we hold community focus groups, we're doing with Grassy Brook as well, is try to engage the public, engage the development community, engage a number of bodies of people, not just one, let's say the residents. We want to include everybody in that conversation because it helps address issues, helps address other things that we need to either get rectified or have an understanding what's happening. So in some instances, for example, if walkers was at the table, there may be questions that residents may ask that really only walkers can answer, and it helps facilitate that conversation directly. So we do feel that a community focus group is something that can benefit everyone to get answers to questions. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to agree at the table in the end. What it's going to do is provide information, two-way dialogue, and have the conversation open.
Thank you, Ms. Dolch. So I guess the difference between the Grassy Brook one is it's a city-initiated community focus group with what the city wants to do, what the residents want to do. If we did a community focus group with walkers, they are the applicant, so that's a little bit different than the Grassy Brook. So I just want to get that clear in my mind. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have Councillor Nieuwesteeg.
Thank you. When Councillor Battelle and I suggested this motion to have a community focus group, what we were looking for was something to be a very fair, reasonable, open, and transparent process. The intent was not to have a no quarry or a pro quarry. That was, we were going into this wanting to have both everybody's opinion, being the residents of Fernwood, the residents of Niagara Falls, Walker, everybody who's concerned should have a voice at this in this focus group. So I think just having one or not having the other, then it's like Walker just having their own community focus group is going to be pro, Fernwood being no, so we're not going to get anywhere. So we want to be able to have everyone come to the table in a very mature, in a very, I guess the process has to be really defined so that it is very fair to everyone. I think we have to look at some parameters as well. I think there has to be a time parameter so that it's not going on forever. It comes, and people, it's mostly about education, trying to figure out how do we work, how do we come to a solution for this situation. I think we should have an independent facilitator, a non-biased facilitator who can be there and be able to hear everybody in a very fair and transparent way. And I think also maybe city staff should be there to take notes and records of what, or minutes of it. I don't think it's something the media should be there, so we can really get everybody's input and have a very fair deliberation in terms of how we can come to some reasonable solution with this issue.
Maybe I could just get a show of hands. How many people in the room are in favor of a quarry? So, Councillor Nieuwesteeg, as I mentioned, it's kind of a two-step process. I haven't spoken to anyone other than employees of Walker that are in favor of a quarry. So it's kind of knocking heads together. It's kind of a two-step process, and the city can decide as a first step in the process whether the rezoning application will proceed. If the city decides the rezoning application should proceed, then I think the citizens of Niagara Falls as a whole would want to talk further as to what concessions can be obtained if this quarry is going to develop. But at the present time, no one's in favor of a quarry. So what are Walker going to say? They're going to say, well, we want to be a good neighbor, trust us, but we don't trust them, obviously. They've been sitting silent for over 20 years while Fern was being planned and developed. Is that a good neighbor? Is that ethical?
Then there would be no need to have a focus group if it's just going to be...
That's why I say for the citizens, for city council to hear firsthand what the concerns are of the people that vote for you.
Yes, and we've heard, yes, and that's what...
You haven't heard it yet.
Okay. Anyway, I still think that we need to have a focus group, that we bring everybody together. And your concerns will be presented at that focus group. It will be at that group that everybody has a fair side to explain what their issues are. And you will have that opportunity at that group.
No, I won't have the opportunity because I'm not going to participate in it.
Well, a representative from...
If there are any, like I say, it's kind of a pointless if Walker are going to be there. Everyone opposes it. So do you think that by Walker saying, yes, we're going to change this to 40 meters rather than 30 meters, that all of a sudden the citizens are going to say, oh yeah, let's have a quarry? But I think City Council should hear firsthand from the citizens of Niagara Falls what their concerns are, without getting into a debate with Walkers. Walker, I know, they're probably watching tonight, or they should be. They're all in favor of a community focus group because that's a box they can tick off. Yes, we've consulted the community.
Perhaps I can just take this in a bit of a different direction and ask staff. Staff are going to be putting out an expression of interest. And exactly who are we planning on putting that expression of interest out to? Maybe that's the first question.
So I'll just start and I'll let Mr. Bryce comment in as well. But we are looking at contacting those people that have written in. We've had a lot of comments from the general public on the Quarry application. Obviously, it's come through Mayor and Council, and that's going to be one of our starting points, is to make sure those people that have tried to voice their concerns do get an opportunity to sit on that committee. And then I'll pass it over to Mr. Bryce on anybody else he plans to contact.
These, the people that have sent the comments, are these comments to the planning department or to the MNRF?
More than likely residents of Fernwood, Mr. Rupe.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Your Worship. Number one, wanted to make sure that the people that have submitted comments are aware of the expression of interest. So we're going to send them a copy, but also we're going to publish it on the city's website for the public as a whole to be able to participate. And submitted an expression of interest if they are so interested.
Yeah, like you people are smarter than me, so you've been in the community relations business for a long time. So you should know the best means of notifying the public. It's not for the mayor to say it's on the agenda and the public should have been aware that this is going to happen. We need some really smart thinking as to how we're going to notify the residents of Niagara Falls that we're going to be replacing agricultural land with an open pit mine when there's been no need established for additional aggregate. There hasn't been a proper alternative site analysis done.
Okay, I just wanted to follow up with my question because I got that you're going to notify the people who sent in letters, more than likely a lot of residents from Fernwood. How are we going to get it out to the broader public, people that are farther than Fernwood? And are we going to invite Walker Brothers on the expression of interest?
And I can start, and Mr. Bryce can add in if there's anything else. So first, in terms of Walker Brothers, they will be a participant in it, as well as city staff, regional staff, and PCA staff. So there will be a lot of people that have some of the detailed information, and there's also going to be people from the community as well. So it's a mixed group. It's a mixed group. So if the report, there's 6 to 8 people just generally from the community as a whole, and then you have Walker, city staff, regional staff, and PCA. That's the composition of the group. In terms of notification, obviously, Mr. Bryce did indicate we'll advertise on local our website, and we'll also do it through our standard newspaper ad notification. Those are the 2 ways that we'll get to the general public. Other than that, we will make sure those people that contacted, and it was Mayor and Council that received all the correspondence from the residents that were forwarded to city staff, we'll make sure they're also sent a personal email on participation participating in that group, just to make sure we don't miss anybody, because a lot of those really interested residents were of that group that was sent to Mayor and Council. Was there anything I missed in that answer?
No, I think you covered that. The next question I had is, when is the application scheduled to come to council? Because I thought I heard planning staff at one of our former meetings say in the summertime.
Thank you, Your Acting Worship. Yes, it is in the summer. We're hopeful. We're still waiting on a resubmission, so we don't have the exact date, but there will be a public meeting component to that. So even though we have a community focus group, I do want to say there is still that public component where residents can still come, speak to council, raise their concerns. The reason for this community focus group is to get the information out to the community for those that are mainly concerned with that information, and making sure there's two-way dialogue between ourselves, the community, walkers, us, all of us, beyond what we have currently, which is our JARC committee, and we do have that as well, that's underway as well. That has been going on since the beginning. So that's why we want to make sure now with this community focus group that we have a little more dialogue, make sure that the residents of the community are engaged with the experts, as well as with walkers themselves.
Okay. I do have some other questions, so I know I have Councillor Lococo that's been waiting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if I'm confused or if we're on two different pages. Councillor Nieuwesteeg talked about an independent facilitator. I haven't got that from our staff, so I guess through the chair to Ms. Dolch, is an independent facilitator going to be part of this, or is the city running this?
Through you, Your Worship, we didn't have it in our staff report, but if that's a desire of council, we can accommodate that.
And there would probably be a cost, and who would be paying for that then if it's an independent facilitator?
Well, with the Quarry application, under a schedule of fees, the Quarry is responsible for costs incurred for the application.
Okay, thank you. I'm thinking that an independent facilitator would be better than our staff and region. Not that they don't know what they're talking about, it's just an independent person. But I can see that lasting a long time. So if this is coming in the summertime, how are we going to be able to put this process together?
That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it is middle of May right now. And, I mean, I don't know what the timelines are like. I mean, I know that with the new bill that the province introduced, we only have a certain amount of time to get applications in front of council, otherwise they end up at the OLT. And then we have to refund fees. So I don't know what that date is. I don't know whether or not their application has been deemed complete so that the clock can start. Maybe staff can help us out on that.
Thank you, Acting Worship. So the application has been in previously, so we're waiting on a resubmission. Their application was prior to the timelines that were put into place. So not to say there isn't a timeline, but we're not held to the refund policies that were put into place with Bill 109. So it's something we'll work through. Obviously, the community focus group, there will be parameters on number of meetings. We're not going to have unlimited number of meetings because we'll never have all the issues resolved, obviously. That's something that obviously we'll strive to, but I don't see that we'll get to that point. All we're hoping to do is share information, make sure everybody's on the same page, and make sure that when it comes forward to a decision of council that we have, there's been active engagement prior to.
And are we still going to be required to have public meetings as part of the planning process?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, that is correct. We still have this standard process that we run through with any application. This is just above and beyond that.
Okay. Any other questions of council? Okay, if not, would someone like to put a motion on the floor? Okay.
Sorry, I just had another question. It just came to me. So I'm trying to understand what this process would look like. Would it be one meeting where the public is invited, where the Fernwood residents are invited, where Walkers is invited? Is it all in one, or are there going to be multiple meetings building up to that? So say maybe just Fernwood residents, then maybe the public of residents, then maybe the region, JART, the committee, all of those, and then include Walker. Is Walker going to be included right from the beginning? Is it a one Like, what are the terms of reference? What is this going to look like?
I'll ask staff.
Thank you, Your Acting Worship, through you to the councillor. So it will be a series of meetings, and walkers will be involved from the beginning. Generally, what the start of the meeting is background. So there'll be a lot of background information provided, where we are, what's happening, what are the main issues, and that's where we'll start to focus in. And I'll let Mr. Bryce comment on anything further, but generally that's the start of it. We start talking about the background, you know, things like natural heritage, noise, traffic, all those key issues. We start to get the background information out for a starting point. Then we proceed to start discussing the issues individually, and agendas will be created prior to each meeting to make sure that we stay on topic. Obviously, if we do have an independent facilitator, it is a bit easier to do that, and we can work through that. But it'll depend on once we start the background, we've identified the issues already, so there may be additional issues that we may have to put in what we call a parking lot to discuss further, but we'll start with a preconceived notion of what the issues are at this point. And I don't know if Mr. Bryce wants to add.
Just a comment. So, as I understand it, there was several dozen letters of various lengths submitted to the MNRF and the aggregate resource people with numerous questions from the residents. Would it not be advisable to get those responses to those questions prior to proceeding further?
Thank you. In terms of that process, it's a separate process. So we have to operate independent of that process. So that's under a separate application with the province. We're just dealing with what we have before us, and we've been asked by council to strike this community focus group, and it's just with regard to what's before the city, the official plan and zoning amendment.
No, but I'm just trying to feel for the people that will volunteer or be selected by you to participate in this community focus group. Would they not want, in order to be as productive as possible, to know the answers to their own questions that they've posed to walkers, rather than, you know, going around in a circle?
Thank you, Acting Worship. Through you to the delegate. So in terms of, again, we're going to start with the first community focus group as a background. We're going to have the issues identified that we heard through all the correspondence that we have to date. There may be the questions that people will raise, and that's where we'll start the conversation, and that's where the conversation starts to happen. Again, I don't have all the commentary that may have gone through to the province, but obviously we have an independent separate process here, and hopefully those questions will be asked by that community focus group.
Like I know yesterday City Council received a 31-page letter with questions. So you have them in your inbox now. I just think that, again, to be productive, or more productive, that it would be good for the residents to have those responses. And as far as the background, please, your walkers have had several meetings where they've discussed and presented the background. So there's no need to have a first meeting with background, so they can show a picture of the future hospital.
And I will just comment on one of your comments. In terms of the questions that have been, if the questions have come in, we are working on answering questions, and they will go up on our Let's Talk page. So any question that staff are asked, or through council staff is asked, we do try to get them up on the Q&A session, our page on our website. So we are working on the Let's Talk page to answer all the questions. But again, community focus group is just a bit different than the Q&A.
Yeah, the same questions will be there. So, Mr. Acting Mayor, I suggest that the city staff respond to those questions prior to any further consideration of a community focus group?
I think the ones that staff can respond to, they will. Some of them are difficult to respond to from our staff. So, but I'm sure that we will try our best to get to the ones that we can, Mr. Rupe. Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can see from Ms. Dolce's perspective that the letters and questions that went into the MNR, they're separate than us. But I can see from Mr. Rupe's opinion that those questions should be asked. So what I would suggest through the chair to Mr. Rupe is if anybody sent those letters to the MNR that didn't come to council, that those letters go to the community focus group to get those questions answered. Some of them did come to council and maybe and staff, and maybe they can answer those, but the ones that didn't and they just went to the MNR, those ones should come back to the community focus group for those answers.
Okay.
Okay, do I have any other members of council that have any other questions? If not, we are looking for a motion to go on the floor. So, well, staff's recommendation is that council authorize staff to advertise a request for expression of interest for participation in the community focus group to seek out interested persons to provide input into resident and landowner concerns regarding the proposed uppers quarry. That's the staff recommendation. Sure.
To you, Mr. Chair, I think the cost should be borne by city. I don't think we should have Walker paying for the cost for facilitator or the meetings, because we are doing this for our community, and when we take cost sharing from walkers, somehow we are taking favors. That's the way I see it, and I think as a city, we are being right in the middle. We are just neutral. We are no yes to quarry, no to quarry. The reason we are doing this, Mr. Rupe, is when we make a decision in the council, when we have all the questions answered, we need justification when we make a decision in the council chair. And question you're asking staff, the staff sometimes don't have answer. So if we have focus group and when we have walkers reps there, we have NPCA reps, we have few people in the room, so we community can get all the answers, and as long as we go, we can learn the questions and answers too. That's the one, because this community focus group is not taking favors. It's literally bringing all the parties to the table just to talk. That's the only purpose of the focus group is. That is the reason I'm proposing the city bears the cost of meetings and facilitator, because we are bringing this focus group together, and that's at least we can do for our community.
Yeah.
Because the city bears the
Councillor
cost.
Patel, you understand that as part of Walker's mandate, they have to show consultation to the community? Like, they have to do that. So, that just blows me away that you'd ever consider the city paying for that. Walkers have lots of money. And it's their job to consult. So why on earth would the residents of Niagara Falls pay for this consultation?
How many meetings are we looking at?
Through your worship, we were thinking of about 2 to 4 meetings.
Okay.
It'd be a minimum of 2 meetings, but we were thinking that we could accomplish this in about 4 meetings.
Are these all-day meetings?
No, we would schedule these in the late afternoon or early evening when residents are available.
I think 2 is quite optimistic.
Mr. Rupe, please. Okay, so Councillor, are you making
I would
a
like to
motion?
suggest that we bear the cost for the meetings. That's my suggestion.
Okay, is that part of your motion? And are you making a motion
maybe
to
that
approve
could be
staff's
the
recommendation?
separate motion to see if everybody approves it.
Maybe, I'm sorry, can you
That
say
could
that
be the
again?
can we add?
You
Can we
wanna
make
add
it a
that?
separate motion, or maybe?
You can
I
do
want
whatever
to
you
see-
want. You can do a 2-part motion if you want. You can do one part is to accept staff's recommendation. The second part is that the city bear the cost of this community focus group. Is that what you want to do? You can do it in a 2-part motion?
The 2-part motion.
A
that would
2-part
be good.
motion, okay. All right. And do I have a seconder for that motion before I let it go on the floor?
Can you just add the independent facilitator too, because that should be folded into this as well.
You can add that to number 1 if you want. I think it would be more appropriate there, yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right, and then does that mean that you're seconding the motion then?
Through you to, Ms. Dolch, what kind of cost are we looking at? Like, we're just looking at a couple meetings. I do appreciate what Councillor Patel is saying, is that we're initiating this, and we are doing it not because we are we're not here to be pro or no. We're here to get to listen to everybody, and that's what I think. It's just all we're trying to do is be fair and reasonable to everybody involved, and I think that's what Councillor Patel is saying, is that we're initiating this because we want a fair, unbiased consultation, so we can hear from everybody.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to the councillor. In terms of the cost of the facilitator, the last time I've done a community focus group was in a former municipality where we hired a facilitator to facilitate the session, and it ranged from about $5,000 to $7,000.
Maybe we could do a cost sharing then.
Okay, so the motion on the floor was to approve staff's recommendation with an independent facilitator, and the second part of the motion was that the city bear the cost. Do I have a seconder to this motion? Just 1 second. Do I have a seconder to the motion? Okay, with no seconder, then that motion is off the floor. With no seconder to the motion, then the motion is off the floor. So I still am looking for a motion of council.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the motion was that council accepts staff's recommendation and add an independent facilitator to the community focus group. And then the second part of that was that the city bear the cost. Councillor Strange.
Who would bear the cost if it was just the motion as it is?
Who would bear the cost? I do believe that Walker Brothers is obligated to bear the cost of the entire process, if I'm not mistaken, and I can check with Ms. Dolch. Yep. Okay. Yep, that's correct. We still don't have a motion on the floor. You want to do it in 2 sections? Okay, all right. So then I need a motion to accept the 2-part motion made by Councillor Patel. Do I have a seconder to that motion? Seconded by Councillor Nieuwesteeg. Okay, with that said then, I'll call the first part of the motion. The first part of the motion is to accept staff's recommendation and add that an independent facilitator be added to the community focus group. Everyone understands the motion? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Yep. And before I take the second part of the motion, I would ask our solicitor, Mrs. Pietrangelo, to comment.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, for the second part of the motion, it would be staff's recommendation to not do it, and if there is a need for a legal explanation, then my recommendation would be to go into camera where an explanation could be provided as to why that is not advisable.
Okay. With that said then, would you like to pull your motion? Yeah. Okay. So there is no second part of the motion. So the motion has been approved as staff's recommendation with the addition of an independent facilitator. Okay. Thank you for attending tonight, Mr. Rupe. I appreciate any support that you have with you as well coming up. Okay. All right. Jumping to another item where I know that we have someone here in council chambers. 12.3. If everyone could jump to 12.3, which is the placement of truck on city property for floral sales, and I know that we have Mr. Petrillo, who's here in the audience with us. Welcome. Ms. Petrillo, I'm not sure if you want to address council, but if you do, the floor is entirely yours, or if you want to wait and see if there's any questions.
I'll address quickly if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So thank you first off for the opportunity. Just a quick little background as to why I'm requesting this. As I'm sure everybody's known, COVID crushed a lot of us businesses. And the place I was in for 15 years ended up selling, and we were forced to leave that building, find alternative measures to conduct business. And through that, we ended up getting into fruits and vegetables as well as the flowers. So by doing that, we had contacts with a lot of local growers, local flowers, local fruits and vegetables. Gave it a shot at the old Orchard Glen, which at the end of the day is up for rezoning and planning and such. So I had to make some decisions on my own. We do have a large Canpar truck, which is about 15 feet. Takes up about 3 parking spots. We've been part of the Niagara Falls Farmers Market for many years, and obviously with the new addition of the exchange, that's been pushed back as well. Flowers and such, and getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, not looking for sympathy, but had a back surgery, had a heart surgery, and had to simplify things. And having it as a mobile truck for me, and starting over again through COVID is where we're kind of looking at doing things right now. That being said, we also do have a new address, and we're going to be starting in the very near future, being part of very close to you guys down on Queen Street. So I'm very proud to say that we want to be part of that re-energizing, being here to service locals, putting our money where our mouth is, and at this point, we won't have a storefront until such time that the storefront down here is emptied and ready for us to be a tenant. Which is where the idea came from for the flower truck. It's mobile. We're going to have local fruits and vegetables, locally grown plants, hanging baskets, and our arrangements as well. My grandparents were lifelong residents of Chippewa. I did try through City Hall to look at leasing the old town hall. Would have been a nice thing, but they're not leasing it right now as well. So I have a good affinity for Chippewa as well. I think it's an underserviced area where bringing some local fruits and vegetables and flowers can provide a service to Chippewa that has not had it in a very, very long time. We're not here to compete with anybody. We're here to add to the local aspect. I was sitting at Betty's, which we frequented many, many times, and looked across and saw the parking lot that we used to skate at as kids, and sitting derelict a lot of the time. And I figured, you know, why not ask for a proposal to say, bring something to Chippewa that's not there. Use me as a test pilot if we need to, but I think there could definitely be growth. There is growth in Chippewa happening, and I think that, you know, through my health issues and moving from place to place, and not having a storefront right now, we need a source of income as well. So we're looking to the city to have approval to be able to do this on weekends, weather permitting. We also felt it was a nice strategic alliance being across from where Betty's restaurant is, where both Chippewa villagers as well as Niagara Falls residents and people from out of town come. And I just figured it would be a really, really nice aspect to be able to say, hey, listen, this is a service that's needed. We're willing as well and want to be part of the community. In Mother's Day coming up, want to be able to give a nice flower to some of the moms, you know, who are coming down to Betty's and things like that. So I'm not speaking on behalf of Betty's, I'm speaking on behalf of myself as, you know, not trying to take up parking spaces in theirs as the turnover that they have, but having a parking lot that not too many people park in, and putting it to use with some happiness and some joy and some locally grown goods. That's kind of what we're asking for right now, especially in the meantime, while our storefront gets completed, we really don't have a place to go. So we were kind of looking for some approval to say, hey, this is a place that may need it, and we're looking for some approval. So that's kind of what I'd like to say for you.
Let me see if there's any questions. I know I have Councillor Thompson who wants to speak. Yep, okay.
Thank you. I had Mr. Petrullo talk to me yesterday, and I have known the family for probably 50 years, and I know Marty has had a business on Main Street for years, and a couple of years ago he said, I'm going down to the market in St. Davis, and I think that didn't work out either. And this is a difficult decision, but here's a guy has been in business for probably 20 years, and it's a situation where the Chippewa the parking lot is he's suggesting on the weekends with a truck with flowers and fruit, and he actually tried to get at Betty's, but they're full so many times on the weekend, so that's very difficult. And when he talked to me, he finally said, I've got a place on Queen Street, and I'm going to go there and help the downtown. And I said, oh, that's good. So you're just talking about for a short period time, and going when you get your store on Queen Street, you're going to be there. So I think that's responsible for people who have been 20 years in business and paying the taxes and fees for years, and doing Queen Street, I think, is great, and I would be very appreciative if I said I'll make a motion to permit you to have that facility until you get your Queen Street done. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Wayne, were you making a motion?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, what was your motion?
Permit him to park on the Chippewa Arena area until he gets his, on weekends, and until he gets his store on Queen Street.
Okay. Just give me 1 second. I gotta process this, and I'm gonna ask, is there a seconder to that motion? Seconded by Councillor Strange, and I also have Councillor Campbell, who is now online with me, who I know wanted to support that as well. And before I get ahead of myself here, I do have other people who wish to speak. So right now, Marty, there is a motion on the floor, but I do have to go to Ms. McLaughlin, who is in the audience as well. and I know that she's interested in this issue. So, Ms. McLaughlin, I invite you up to address council as well.
Thank you very much, everybody. My name is Michelle McLaughlin. I'm actually the owner of Roots and Blooms, located on 3710 Main Street in Chippewa. Sorry, I'm not used to speaking in front of everybody.
Okay.
I own the flower shop, which is a full-service flower shop. I've been open since March. I have a little bit of a different shop. I do children's birthday parties there. I service the community. Willoughby Manor, I go and do workshops there as well. It's in walking distance, and I feel that Mr. Petrullo, if he did do this, would really affect my business. I have many reasons actually opposed to it. I'm a brick and mortar. I do pay my rent. I'm actually looking at purchasing the building itself as long as things go well, and I feel that if he was to come in, that would really affect my business. So the Village Flower actually established there 6 years ago. She did not want to renew her lease, and I've known her for many years. We've worked together in the business, and I decided to take over and open up a shop there so that the community would have a full-service flower shop to maintain. So local people could actually go to the flower shop. I'm open 7 days a week, and I feel that me working hard the 7 days and then him coming in on the weekends, that would really affect my business. And of course, during holidays, as florists, we look forward to Valentine's Day, Easter, Mother's Day is the big all of all for florists, and that would really affect our business as well. Like I said, I do workshops at Willoughby and Willoughby Manor. They like to come and walk to my shop as well and look around in the shop. So even the children's birthday parties, I'm trying to make it a very hands-on interactive flower shop where people can come in, they can create a wreath, or they can create succulent gardens and things like that. So I'm trying to make it a very interactive flower shop as well. And so I am opposed to this because I really do feel that it would affect my business.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Ms. McLaughlin. If you want to stick around, we'll see whether or not any questions of council come up. I know that I probably do have some councillors that are going to want to make some comments. We'll see if they have any questions of you or Mr. Petrullo. But I know that I also have Mr. Nicol that wants to actually address the motion, so I'll go to him next.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just want to remind council, it is very regular for us to be considering using city property to support a single business without going through an expression of interest or a public procurement process, or even to ask for a license agreement to have the cost of using the city's lands, that is tax-supported lands, or to deal with maintenance, insurance, waivers of indemnity on any of these things. We have put forward a recommendation that deals with Mother's Day and Mother's Day only, and that's what's before what was in the original motion of the council agenda. And staff can support that with a waiver, and we can also support that with a staff sign-off. So we need approvals on where is it going to be, and then a waiver from the applicant that we're indemnified from him setting up his business for this one-time event. That was the limit that staff felt comfortable supporting. We know that vendors who provide service at the market pay a market fee. We also know that during busy times at the arena, and with baseball and arena operations, we can see that facility add to capacity in the parking lot. So we do have some concerns with the motion that's on the floor. But want to share those with you so you know full disclosure what our concerns are. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Patel.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I really agree with Mr. Nichols. This is setting the wrong precedent for other businesses, because if we allow one business to operate on city facilities, we're going to have maybe 10 or 15 trucks next year. One day or one weekend is fine. I would support for one weekend, but I don't think I can support for entire summer until the business opens, because that's not fair to brick and mortar businesses, because they are paying the rent, they are paying the insurance, and as a small business owner, I know how much it costs to operate a business. So I would support for one weekend, but not for the entire length.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. I have Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to support the one day for Mother's Day, but as Ms. McLaughlin said, there is a bricks and mortar flower shop in Chippewa, and that will severely take away from her business. So I'm not going to support even the one day. I do think it's a very slippery slope. If we do one day, then other people will ask, oh, can I do a weekend or can I do that? We have these rules for a reason, and it is unfortunate that Mr. Petrillo and the business from St. David's to Queen Street, that he's looking for something, but I just don't think that the city should be supporting this because I think it will create a precedent. So I'm not going to support the one day or the whole time until they're at Queen Street.
Okay. Do I have any other councillors who wish to speak? Councillor Nieuwesteeg.
Is there a charge for him to use the one day so that it can at least, we can get something for the city and it kind of evens the playing field for the village flowers?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, we wouldn't have the time, I would suppose, to write up a proper license agreement. We could propose an option to Mr. Petrillo that would be part of the waiver, and I would suggest that we'd want to follow what precedent we might have in our market schedule of fees and look at a prorating. That's just a suggestion, but if that's council's will, we would prefer that be added to a motion so we have direction tonight.
Oh. Councillor Campbell.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
You know, I want to support Mr. Petrillo mainly because he has already paid for rental in the downtown core, and he's looking to contain his businesses at a minimal basis so that he is not going to be in a position of failing in the downtown core. I don't think it's out of order to simply say one weekend. I think he should be allowed to go for the time, and it's only going to be about a month and a half at the very most. So I have to support his request.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Patel.
Through you, Mr. Chair. My question is for Mr. Petrillo. You're going to have business on Queen Street. So why do the pop-up shop in Chippewa?
Well, initially we had started it for Mother's Day. Yep, for sure. Initially we had started it just looking at Mother's Day, and then just recently signed a lease down in Queen Street. So for me, it was more of an underserviced area. We're not here to compete with any type of flower shops. I think we should all be in this together. And in fact, when I made this initial idea, there really wasn't even a flower shop there. Village Flowers had left. So for me, I had been looking for places that didn't have, and again, this isn't just flowers. It isn't competing with workshops or things like that. This is me going to local greenhouses and bringing in local product, local apples, local lettuces, so a market setting, not just a flower shop. I think that's kind of what COVID has kind of pushed our business in that direction. For Queen Street, we just won't be, the bricks and mortar of that is not ready. But rest assured, for 15 years on Main Street, 2 down in St. David's, I am a bricks and mortar place. My grandfather was 50 years a dentist in Niagara Falls, and I'm following in his footsteps coming down to Queen Street and taking a risk. So this isn't about, trying to compete or put another business. I want that to be clear off the table. I'm here together. Florists do work together, and I've been doing this for over 17 years. So I think that until that shop is ready, there's not really room even on Queen Street to put a truck right now. And for Betty's, we wanted to kind of have an alliance that when people were coming, it gave them a chance on a Saturday or Sunday morning to be able to come and get some fresh fruits and vegetables and maybe some fresh locally grown flowers. So that's where the idea had come from, as well as my family being from Chippewa. My mother born and raised in Chippewa all her life, and my grandparents living on Main Street right down the road from Betty's. So I'm somebody who goes from heart and soul, and I think that that's what led me to Chippewa. Not trying to compete with a current florist. I want to make that very clear. This is something that was done out of love. We are definitely open to, as I said to Mr. Madsen in some emails back and forth, He said that this would be something that could be looked at if I got a business license with the truck, and I have no problem doing that and putting money towards the city, as Councillor Nieuwesteeg had said something along those lines. We're not asking this for free. We're just saying this was a proposal that we wanted you to consider, and hopefully could be something that would benefit a small mini market in a parking lot for the residents of Chippewa.
The only reason I'm asking is because your business is going to be in Queen Street, so if you do it somewhere along the Queen Street, it promotes your future business.
Well,
That's one of the reasons
no,
I'm asking
absolutely,
you.
and we also have that during the week coming. I'm teaming up with some of the locals in Heart Niagara, and there's definitely some charity things with Project Share and bringing affordability to people with their fruits and vegetables and locally grown flowers. So charity aspects are involved in my business. I always have been, and again, this is something where I want to be transparent here. This is something where I want to be part of community, not being segmented over here that we're trying to take business away from Mother's Day from any other florist. I know what Mother's Day is like. I think that there's more than enough room for everybody, and I think that you'll see it in markets. There's 5 suppliers of fruits and vegetables, 5 suppliers of florists. It's something that together let the residents make the choice where they want to go. But it's not that I would be setting up in Cummington Square, for instance. This is way further down. It's in a parking lot that really, for me, I see development happening, and I see the people going in and out of Betty's that would probably service them on weekends when they go to Betty's.
Well, my concern is about setting the precedent, because if we allow one business, then we'll have more businesses coming on the city property.
Maybe this is something that the city has to start looking at, is some of these empty places where businesses can come together and do things. But I think for me, it's just Chippewa's been lacking something like this, and I just wanted to put it out there to see the response and what we could look at doing.
Okay, I'll let Mr. Nicol answer that.
Oh. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me an opportunity to speak. I think when we look at this opportunity, there could definitely be a model to license this type of vendor, but have it be offered on private property or potentially partner with a not-for-profit like a church or something like that might have that space. City property, as I mentioned, is for all city residents, taxpayers to enjoy. And when someone is profiting from the use of that space, they need to be reimbursing us for it, and we need to be offering that fair and transparent to all people who could potentially want it. The Municipal Act is very clear that that's the requirement of the municipality to operate with that transparency. So just want to be very clear with that for council in the decisions that you have to make tonight. Staff would certainly be happy to come back with a report, a more fulsome report on a longer term type of option to license it and what that looks like with potentially licensing agreement. Council may want to look at just perhaps a Mother's Day option and then allow staff to come back with a report for a bit of a longer term alternative that might cover not only this proposal but other proposals similar in nature. I'm putting some options before council, but I do still have my same concerns with, as I earlier mentioned. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions of council? If not, then the motion on the floor is to allow Mr. Pietrangelo to set up shop at the Chippewa Arena on May 14th and on weekends until his business is open, provided that he gets a business license. Everyone, sorry, Councillor.
I just want to ask, through you, Acting Mayor, Mr. Nicol had mentioned that if he paid a fee, then that would make this a lot easier for all the residents. Can we add that to the motion so that it is fair to everyone, and then we have no concerns from all the other from any other residents? Like, and if it's fair, like something for like McBain, like what somebody would pay for McBain, then in all good consciousness, for being fair to all our residents, and I think, would you
Absolutely.
support?
Absolutely.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, there's 2 items at stake here. There's the business licensing, so the permissions to operate this business, and then there's the fees for the license of our property. The recommendation that was put before you said we could make a one-time exception to the business licensing aspect, and it didn't really speak to the fees. So I think we could do that for Mother's Day. There's not enough time to ask for that business license for the truck, but I think it would be appropriate to look at a fee structure that we could negotiate based on the going rate for this sort of thing.
I guess I'd have to ask the mover of the motion, what were your intentions? Did you want to ask Mr. Pietrangelo to pay the same amount that people would pay at the market?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
And I think he's willing to do that.
Okay. And I'll ask the secondary, you're okay with that? Yep, okay, all right. So that's an amendment to the motion.
Mr. Chair,
Just 1 second. Yes, Councillor Lococo.
Ms. McLaughlin would like to speak. Is that
I
appropriate?
just have a question, please. I was just wondering, do we have a date?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ms. McLaughlin, but you have to come up so
Yes.
that the public
Sorry,
can hear
I'm
your
just
question.
wondering, do we have a date? I mean, you're saying Mother's Day until his business opens. Can we get a definite date of when his business is going to open?
I can.
Because, I mean, like I said prior, I pay brick and mortar. I pay a lot of rent where I am. And for a business to just come in with a truck on the weekends, whether he wants to take away business or not, maybe not intentionally, but that is inevitable and that will happen, of course. So I would like a date as to when he's allowed to continue to do that.
Okay. Right now, there is no date in the motion, so I'll go to the mover of the motion. Would you like to put a date on it? Right now, you said for weekends. So
We're just in the process of getting a date yet. We still don't have a furnace in there yet. They're still doing some construction, so I'm kind of not even, that's kind of where this came out of, is that we just don't have a full out timeline yet. I will say this, with the exception of Mother's Day, June, July, and August, we don't have huge floral holidays. It's more of supporting the local growers of more so fruits and vegetables during that time period. And that's what we want to hone in on as a market setting, is to be able to give people, you know, the locally grown lettuces and things like that. So in the time frame that I get back down to Queen Street, it could be August. And at that point, we'd be back down in our bricks and mortar. But again, I want to reiterate, for 17 and a half years, we have paid our bricks and mortar. We are a bricks and mortar business. We are a business that has been part of this city and a family that's been part of this city for 100 years. We are not trying to take over. We are trying to be part of a community, and I really want to make that kind of clear. This is something that I believe will enhance, and especially at these times and these months, leading into the growing season, you know, leading into June and July, when the fresh fruits come, all of our contacts we're able to bring that to market as well. So that's what we'll concentrate on in that time period. Obviously, Mother's Day is the one time period that we don't have our bricks and mortar. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Okay. And I do have a couple other councillors that have questions before. I'm going to go to Ms. Moldenhauer.
Thank you, and through the mayor. I wanted to inform council and our community listening that although the Niagara Falls Exchange were delayed in our opening, we will be opening our Niagara Falls Farmers Market at the McBain Community Center on Saturday, May the 20th. So there is an opportunity, of course, you could set up your truck at the market. And we're always willing to take on, you know, new vendors, of course, at that location. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware. We are opening up the market on the May 20th.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Moldenhauer. I have Councillor Lococo and Councillor Strange.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was what I was going to talk about, was that our market was going to be at the McBain. So in essence, there's competition with ourselves from city property to city property. Now we have in Chippewa and then at the McBain Center. Now I know years ago when we've had the market down here on Queen Street, there was a lot of discussion about keeping it down there and still having the one at Main and Ferry. And the idea was that it's two competing against each other. Let's just focus on one, have all of our resources on one. So I think we're competing with ourselves on that for the weekends as well. So I'm still not going to support that, but I think I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, well, And sometimes you never know till you try. I know that when we closed our main and ferry and sent everyone out to the community center, they complained they didn't want to go out there. And then now that they're out there, it's like the best thing that they've ever had. They don't want to go back to main and ferry. So sometimes it's one of those things where you never actually know until you try. Councillor Strange.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. I just wondered if we might be able to let Mr. Pietrangelo do it, is it the 18th? Is that the date?
The 14th.
14th, sorry. And then maybe see how it goes, because the recommendation, I guess, from staff was just for that day. See how it goes, and then bring it maybe back to council. I don't want to affect her business. I want to find out if it affected her business at all. I want to see if Mr. Pietrangelo did well that day. You know what I mean? And he may not even want to proceed after that. So maybe we can do a one-day trial with a recommendation, and then come back and have staff figure out something, whether it's the market down on at the McBain or wherever it may be. I don't know if Councillor, if that's a better idea for you, acting CEO.
Well, I think you'd have to go to the
Or
mover. I think you'd have
and
to
for,
go to the mover
sorry,
of the motion.
yeah, for Councillor Thompson
to
as
see
well.
whether or not he
Like
would like
if
to change
we
the
do it,
motion.
the recommendation, and then bring it back to see how Mr. Pietrangelo did. We don't even know how he's going to do. It could be good. We have to figure out as far as the city liability, what he's going to pay for his business license, and I think that all has to be brought back anyways, I would think.
He's asking you if you want to change your motion or if you want your motion to stand as is.
Just for the one day, and then bring it back, and then we can go from there to see how well he does the first day. Because we don't even know a date when he...
30.
He's saying May 30th is our next council meeting, so, I mean, if Mr. Pietrangelo, and he's right, I mean, if Mr. Pietrangelo opens up shop this weekend, he will effectively be off until after our next meeting, because there will be no decision.
Okay, I feel really comfortable just taking the second, not to have my second on the motion, just because I would rather have it on, I didn't realize Ms. McLaughlin was going to be affected that much, and if she is, I don't know, but I would like to see some numbers, what's happening from the first day on the 14th, and if we can possibly bring it back. I know we don't have a meeting until the 30th, and I don't know what we can do about that, but I like the recommendation just for the one day and try it out.
Okay.
And then maybe we can do something where he goes to because on the May 20th, he can go right to the McBain Center as well.
Well, wait, yeah, nope, Wayne.
That would probably be a good idea.
I think he's asking you if you would be opposed to going to the farmer's market that we have at the community center.
So no, not opposed. We've been part of it for 5 years. The reason I wasn't able to was, as I brought up at the beginning, with some personal things, heart surgery, medications, getting up at 5 in the morning was something that was setting us back from there as well. So we just needed to go at it at a step back pace. On a slower scale, where it was just in a quaint little area that we would be able to conduct business that way. So it was more on the fact of health concerns on my side, which I didn't want to bring up here, but that's the reason that 5 o'clock in the morning for me at the city one right now. We'll be slated to still be part of the Niagara Falls Farmers Market. That's been our kind of slate for the past 6 years. So we've always been a vendor at the farmers market. It's just this is an extenuating circumstance where life has thrown a few curveballs, that's all.
Okay, just to put this in perspective then, with the second or with the seconder leaving the motion, there is no motion on the floor unless there is someone that wants to second it. So I have to ask, is there someone who wants to second the motion that was made by Councillor Thompson? And I'll ask again, is there anyone that wants to second the motion made by Councillor Thompson? So effectively, there is no motion on the floor. Would you like to make a different motion?
Mr. McNamara?
1 second. I think everyone wants to speak right now, but. Yeah, I have a list. I know. I know. Okay. Right at this moment, we have no motion on the floor. So, seeing as we have no motion on the floor, it's a fresh discussion. It's a brand new discussion. So we're now looking for a motion to go on the floor. Does anyone have a motion that they'd like to put on the floor? Councillor Patel.
I'll make a motion for May 14th, that staff suggested, one day.
Okay, is that the recommendation that staff put forward?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion is to approve staff's recommendation as submitted or given to council. Do I have a seconder to that motion? Councillor Strange is the seconder to that motion. Questions to that motion? Councillor Campbell?
Can we add to that motion that staff consider the next couple of weekends? It's only going to be 2 weekends until the farmers market opens. It's not like it's going to be all summer long. If we could extend it to that date, then that might help Mr. Pietrangelo in so many different ways.
It's the next weekend.
Yeah, it's the very next weekend, Councillor. So the motion is to permit him to go there on May 14th, and then the farmer's market opens on May 20th, which is the
Oh, I'm
Saturday.
sorry, I missed that, okay.
That's okay. Are there any other questions to the motion, Councillor Lococo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Today's May 9th. Mother's Day is May 14th. 5 days before the biggest flower day, we're changing the rules for Miss McLaughlin. I don't think that's fair to be utilizing city property for someone else to benefit it. I understand about possibly looking at different things later on, but at this stage, 5 days before, I think that's very unfair for us to change the rules.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Patel. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Thompson.
Yeah. To the motion. Can we refer this to staff to work with Marty and try to find a solution to help him? I didn't know that a business in Chippewa, I didn't have any idea of that. So just can you add that to the motion, refer to staff to work with him to see if we
I
can.
will see if that's a friendly amendment. So I will go to the mover of the motion, Councillor Patel. Is that a friendly amendment? He wants he wants a second part added to the motion that they refer Mr. Petrulo's situation to staff to see whether or not there's other weekends. Yeah, okay, all right. And that's fine, okay. Yes?
Through you, Mr. Chair. To Mr. Petrulo, what kind of flower are you planning to sell there? Are they raised flowers or just the fresh cut flowers?
No, so that's the difference, is that, yep, sorry. That's the difference. With the truck, there'll be a lot of planted flowers as well. So local tulips I will have. That's every florist has that. But we're going to really kind of concentrate on some hanging baskets, some hanging ferns, things like that that people can just grab and bring to their home and utilize right away. So the majority of what we will have will be planted, with probably, I'd say 25 to 30% of some fresh cuts. So with the truck and being able to put them out, the planted stuff I think is where kind of we're going to concentrate.
Okay, thank you. Do you have comment on that, Miss?
Yes, actually, I also do hanging baskets and planters. I custom make my own planters for the residents myself. I actually pride myself on making them custom. So yeah, that is something that I do myself. I actually was hoping to present a recommendation. Mr. Pietrangelo talks about the produce, and so possibly he could just focus on the produce part of it and leave the flowers to the one flower shop in Chippewa, which is me currently, and maybe he can just focus on the produce aspect of it. if that's something that you would consider. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to the motion? And I will ask the clerk to read the motion before I take it. I can do it for you if you want. The motion on the floor is to approve staff's recommendation with the addition that the matter be referred to staff to see if there's any other weekends to help out Mr. Pietrangelo. I think that's the motion that's on the floor. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. By taking direction from staff, or for us to work with him, we would appreciate any other direction that council might have. Two things that we will need to work through for that is the business license. That is something that we need to work through. So that is the direction we could take if you pass this motion. Prior to this weekend as well, if you approve this motion, we will still need to also work with Mr. Pietrangelo on that waiver to ensure that all of our rights are protected and that we have insurances for what's happening this weekend.
Understand.
So just want to make sure that's understood within the motion.
Okay. Okay. Everyone understand the motion? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And the motion is carried. Thank you very much for both of you for coming down and participating.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So we're going back now. We're going to go back to 8.2. 8.2 is F 2023-14. It deals with the 2023 schedule of fees update. I have a motion by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Strange to approve staff's recommendation. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Next report is MW 2023-13. This deals with sidewalk winter maintenance on Ryle Street. I think the residents are asking for it to be removed. How did you get them to do that, Mr. Nickel? Can you have some other meetings somewhere else, or?
They sent it through council.
That's amazing, wow. Yeah. Okay, I have a motion by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Baldinelli to approve staff's recommendation. All those in, I'm sorry, Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On page 3, it says presumably the residents will maintain it. I think we should know if they're going to maintain it or not, and if we've determined it was needed because there's schools around there, doesn't that leave some liability on us?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. The term presumably, even if we were to ask, we don't always have a mechanism to ensure that residents will clean it because we don't have the bylaw. So the residents of that street have asked us to remove it from the sidewalk clearing plan. There's no type of formal commitment I can get from them to do it. So, for their own benefit, because they're the ones who primarily walk on that sidewalk. It's not a part of a major artery or connector. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be recommending it. So if they want it clean because they want to walk on it to access other sidewalks, then it's really incumbent on them to clean it themselves. And I forgot the second part of your question, I'm sorry.
Isn't there a liability on us if we don't? Aren't there schools and a bus stop around there?
So there's no bus stop on the south side of Ryle in the section that we're recommending to be discontinued. Liability does exist whether the city cleans it, whether the city does not clean it. And so, what we're looking at is half I think it's 500 meters or maybe less than 500 meters of our existing 400 kilometer network that's uncleared. So staff don't believe that risk is, insurmountable, put it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to approve staff's recommendation. All those in favor? And that's unanimous, thank you. 8.5, MW 2023-12, additions to the 2023 surface treatment program. I'm sure that the people in these areas will be happy to know that the streets are going to get redone. I have a motion by Councillor Baldinelli, seconded by Councillor Thompson to approve the report. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously, thank you. Under the consent agenda, does anyone want to make a motion to approve the entire consent agenda? I have a motion by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Nieuwesteeg to approve the entire consent agenda. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Under communications and comments of the city clerk, we're looking for a recommendation to approve 10.1 through to 10.6.
I'd like to pull 10.6, please.
10.6, so we're looking for a motion to approve 10.1 to 10.5.
That's being carried BIA, so.
Let's see if there's any discussion, typically, yeah. Sorry? Okay, I have a motion to approve 10.1 to 10.5. Is there a seconder to that motion? Councillor Baldinelli. I'll call that vote first. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. 10.6. Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is on our approval. So we are approving this. I've had extensive conversations with a number of groups regarding this. It is very concerning about some of the things that have been happening. So what I would like to see is that the region has approved it a couple of meetings ago, and I would like to see not only do we approve this, but do the City of Niagara Falls put a resolution together for the same thing.
So add a resolution to the actual motion?
Yes, so I would make that motion, yes.
Okay, so the motion is to approve 10.6 and then add a resolution as well. Councillor? She's wondering what the resolution will accomplish.
This one is from,
West Lincoln?
This one's from West Lincoln, so I would like a Niagara Falls one to be drawn up so we can forward it to the appropriate places to show our support.
Understood. Okay. And I have a seconder by Councillor Strange. Everyone understands the motion? All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Under communications again, staff are recommending that 11.1 through 11.4 be received and filed. Looking for a motion. Councillor Lococo.
I'd like to pull 11.1, please.
Okay. So looking for a motion to receive and file 11.2 to 11.4. Motion by Councillor Nieuwesteeg, seconded by Councillor Strange. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. And 11.1.
I just wanted to go through this. This is about the assessment of the Ontario public opinion on Bill 23. I just felt it was really important that we look at it. We're receiving and filing it, but when I read the survey and the stats on this, 6,400 people were surveyed on the Bill 23 measures, and the high percentage was to repeal Bill 23 measures. Some of these statistics are really interesting. 4 out of 5 Ontarians surveys, that's 81%, want to repeal Bill 23 for an ethics review. 79% surveyed believe that it will have no impact on affordable housing. 95% of the concerns are on the impact for environment. 92% expect a loss of green space. 88% see a negative impact on farming. 80% see a negative impact on climate change. 59% cite negative impacts on planning. 58% cite negative impacts on housing, including affordable housing. 54% see negative impacts for municipalities. There's an ethics review question, and it ranged from 80% to 96% with the different stakeholders that groups favored an ethics review on it. And the municipal officials were 83%. The question and result to affordable housing, they did not think that it would help with affordable housing, and that was from 3% to 17% thought it would actually help with affordable housing. And that was 16% of municipal officials. The question on repealing Bill 23 was from 79% to 96%, and 83% of municipal officials felt that Bill 23 should be repealed. So I believe that we need to take a stronger position than just receiving and filing this. These results are alarming. I was opposed to Bill 23 at the beginning, and I've outlined my concerns. So what I would like to do is forward our response, and I'd like to talk to our Director of Planning. At the beginning of Bill 23, we said, how much do we think this is going to cost? How much is it going to cost in lost development charges? How much is it going to cost in additional staff? So I know we forwarded a response there, but I was wondering if our director can give us an updated response of how much this is costing the municipality. And I know you don't have all of the figures, but there are municipalities that are talking about their loss. York Region is estimating $497 million and up to $1.6 million over the next decade that they're going to lose. Town of Ajax is going to lose development charges over 10 years, $19.3 million. Pickering losing $22.8 million over 4 years. So I was wondering, do you have any updated ideas about our loss in development charges and cost to implement things?
Thank you, through you to the councillor. So in terms of determining cost, again, I don't know where the other municipalities are pulling their figures from. It may be on past years that they looked at those figures. I really don't know the basis of them. But in terms of predicting what we're going to get in the future, it's difficult because it's based on whether it's affordable, whether it meets a definition of affordable, what the DCs will be at that point. So to calculate loss is really tough at this point. We can obviously keep an eye on it as we move forward based on the definitions that the province released on those, but at this point it's tough for me to estimate other than by going backwards. And again, I'm not sure how they would have estimated the affordability DC credits in those area municipalities because again, you wouldn't have had a threshold for that definition at that time.
Thank you. This is the difficulty. You have so many different municipalities looking at different definitions and how do you do it, and it is very unclear. So I think we just need to pay more attention to Bill 23 rather than just receive and file it. If our planning department can start keeping track of things, that might be helpful, and if you could report back at another time of what you think might be the cost, that would be very much appreciated.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And through you, I just wanted to add that we are still getting more information coming from the province on their commitment to reimburse municipalities. They have said they were going to be putting some programs out to make sure that we were going to be made whole. So we don't know what those look like at this point in time, but I think that's important to make sure we're all staying tuned to as well. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so still looking for a motion then for 11.1. Councillor Strange? Receive and file?
Yeah.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Nieuwesteeg. I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
I'm going to oppose first.
Okay, thank you. So under communications then, we have a special occasion permit, 12.1, for the Rotary Rib Fest, and looking for someone to approve the recommendation to declare the 2023 Rotary Club of Niagara Falls Sunrise Rib Fest and Barbecue on June 16th, 17th, and 18th as an event of municipal significance, City of Niagara Falls, in order to assist with obtaining a special occasion permit from the AGCO. I have a motion by Councillor Patel and seconded by Councillor Nieuwesteeg. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Thank you. 12.2 is amendments to the city's licensing bylaw for refreshment vehicles, and the recommendation is that council receive the memorandum for information and consider approving the amending bylaw with respect to refreshment vehicles. Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Victoria Centre BIA is in support of changing it, and it's quite ironic that we were talking about a flower truck just a few minutes ago, and that there's reasons for all of this of why we have these things. They talk about bricks and mortar, they talk about BIA areas. I just thought it was kind of ironic we were talking about a refreshment vehicle and a flower vehicle, but I'm in support of it.
Would you like to move the recommendation?
Yes, please.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Lococo, excuse me, seconded by Councillor Patel, or Nieuwesteeg. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving along, we already did 12.3. We do not have any ratification of in-camera, so we're on to notice of motion, new business. Do we have to do the 14.1? Did we already cover that in our original motion?
So because it was previously addressed by council, if the councillors that put it forth would like to rescind it, then we can do that, or we can address it as they wish.
No, but what I mean is, we already passed a motion to initiate a community focus group, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yes. So, would we pass another motion? No, okay.
Sorry, maybe perhaps I wasn't clear and I apologize for that. Because it was brought forth by notice of motion at a previous meeting, it's now been addressed previously in this meeting. Now it is on the notice of motion that was appropriately provided by the members of council at the previous meeting, at which time now they can say if they'd like to rescind that because the item has already been addressed via a report to council. Okay.
I see. So a motion to rescind by Councillor Patel, seconded by Councillor Nieuwesteeg, because the matter has already been dealt with.
Yes.
I'll call that vote. All those in favor? Thank you, that's unanimous. So under 14.2, it's another notice of motion. It deals with a reduction of speed in residential areas. And the recommendation is a direction to staff that the matter be referred to staff to look into reducing the speed limit from 50 kilometers an hour to 40 kilometers an hour on residential streets in Niagara Falls, and to bring back a report to council showing the implications of this proposed change. And Councillor Patel, I know you had brought the issue forward, so I go to you first to see whether or not that's the recommendation that you want.
Yes, I do want. Through you, Mr. Chair, I do want to accept the recommendation because I did have a lengthy discussion with Mr. Nicol and Matthew, and this is more complex matter than just changing the speed limit. So it's going to take a little while to look into this, and Mr. Nicol and Matthew's working close with me and Councillor Nieuwesteeg, and I think it's working in motion. So it's going to take a time. So I will just accept the recommendation.
Okay, with that said then, so I have a motion made by Councillor Patel, seconded by Councillor Thompson to give direction to staff that's in our agenda. And I have Councillor Campbell who wants to speak to it.
I'm in support, Your Worship. It's just that I live on Armory Street. Are we going to put signs up on a street like mine?
No.
Say it's 40, or is this just going to be for major streets?
No, it would be understood, just like when you roll into a municipality. There's no signs on my street anyway. It's understood when you go into a municipality what the speed limit is, and usually there's signs on the limits of a municipality to let you know what the speed is inside that municipality. But yeah, so there would be no, I guess, extra signs that would be posted on streets.
Okay.
And Mr. Nicol wants to maybe correct me.
Yeah, and through the chair, this is new because the province changed the rules. What we need to do is sign each and every entry and exit point to neighborhoods from arterials and collector roads. So it actually would be quite a large number of additional signs.
Oh, there would.
But staff would much prefer to take the direction from council, come back with a report, because we've got a lot more info we'd like to share, and other tools in our toolbox too.
Yep.
Okay, I guess I was wrong. So the motion on the floor then is to refer the matter to staff and that staff come back with a future report. I'll call that vote. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. So that was the notice of motions. I want to ask, is there any new business of council? And Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had a phone call from a resident and they wanted us to discuss open air burning. It's that time of the year. They wanted to talk about education, awareness, and they read the bylaw and they said nobody could understand the bylaw. They would like it in layman's terms and to promote what's allowed and what's not allowed. If through our fire chief or communications, if we can look into that, because it is the time people are starting to burn things again.
I don't know if Mr. Wilkinson was even expecting a question.
I'm sorry.
This meeting, you know?
He just called.
Yeah. So, you want me to answer that for you? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, through your worship. It's been an issue we've had for quite some time. I don't know the result of the bylaw. A number of years ago, it was looked at and brought to council for changes. I don't know that they were accepted. It's something we'd have to look at on our end and discuss with council. Any changes coming forward in the bylaw. Typically, it's that you're going to be allowed to cook with the current bylaw, and once the cooking's complete, the fire needs to be extinguished, so no recreational fires are permitted within Niagara Falls. Right. It's basically what it comes down to. Again, it is posted on our website as well.
Thank you, through the chair. If we can, in our communication, just let people know what's going to be happening for the next few months, what's allowed, what's not allowed, and maybe we could look at the wording of the bylaw to make it a little bit easier to understand. Not necessarily change the intent, just easier to understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell.
Place in my backyard. And I do believe part of the bylaw was that you have to have some form of fire extinguisher, whether it be an actual fire extinguisher or a bucket of water.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving on then. Do we have any other new business? Councillor Patel.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to share something. During the earth today, I was cleaning the trail on the Palmer Avenue by the City Hall, and we came across lots of disposed needles.
Yes.
And there were like piles of them. Some of them were, sorry, some of them were still open. Some I don't know what some things are called. They had some burner attached to it. And I did speak to Mr. Nickel about this. Do we have any better disposal program where people can dispose their used needles? Because I just would like to get the report back from the staff that which areas do they find most needles in. So if we can come up with some kind of disposal box or something to put in those areas.
Yeah, I know the issue has come up before, like on
Yeah.
trails for some reason. And I know obviously when you go into a medical building, they have those little boxes that, you know, once the needle goes in, it
Right.
can't be taken out that easily. So, Mr. Nickel, I'm not sure if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I mean, we can take direction on that to come back to council with a report for information. We've recently installed 2 public disposal bins, and those were donated by Niagara Region Public Health and through their partnership with Streetwork. So we've got some good partnerships already in place, and I'm happy to take that back to council, maybe about what we're doing today and some of the steps we might want to take to help keep the city clean from needles. And I know that also goes back to a previous presentation by Mr. Gale when he was here as well.
Right, because I think the city of Toronto and some other cities do have that program where they have those boxes in some public places.
Right.
Because sometimes when I take my dog for a walk, I do see needles, broken glass. So I was wondering, you know how we have a system where we report potholes? If we can come up with a system to report needles or overflowing garbages, broken glass on the street, if we have that system to report through the phone instead of calling in, because when you call, nobody answers and people get frustrated. And when it comes to younger generation, they rather use phone than calling someone. So if we can come up with the all-in-one system online where you can report coyote sighting or broken glass or overflowing garbage, that would be great. So I would like to see a report back to see how we can bring something like this in action.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Do you know the 2 locations that we have right now?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I don't know the parking lot locations off by heart, but in the Main and Ferry district, the city has a parking lot beside the cash and carry store, and so we have one there. And we have one on Erie Street and Park Street city parking lot. The bins are meant to be rather discreet, but yet prominent enough so that anyone wishing to dispose of needles can find it and dispose of them properly.
The only thing I we worry about is some kid stepping on it or someone's pet stepping on broken glass or needles. Because when I walk my dog, usually I come home with the broken glass in my hand because I want to pick it up from the sidewalk so nobody else's pet steps on it. So if we have some program like this in place, people can record it, like maybe take a picture and then send it to the website or through the program, then report it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good idea. Councillor Lococo.
Just on that, Mr. Chair, Streetworks, I know that Mr. Nichols said that we partner with Streetworks, but they also have community cleanups. So if there's certain areas, they'll work on certain BIAs and go and clean up the needles. It's most beneficial to have them put in the sharps container, but if that's not the case and you do find them, Streetworks will come out and they actually bring their clients to come and help clean up. So it's a program that Streetworks has.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other new business of council? If not, then we're looking for a motion to give the bylaws, not anyone but you. We have a motion by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Patel to give the bylaws a first, second, and third reading. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that motion's carried. We have a motion of adjournment by Councillor Baldinelli, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? And we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.